button. I call this meeting to order on Monday, February 18th, 2013. I want to welcome everyone. President's Day. Very glad to have with us tonight Reverend John Hurst from the Mount Zion Baptist Church, who will come forward at this time and give our invocation and our pledge of flag. So would everyone please rise.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we come, Lord, to be this evening with our heads and humble hearts. Thanking you, God, for the blessing that you have given us even this day. Oh, God, we thank you for allowing us to assemble here in this great assembly tonight. We come, oh God, asking you to bless this gathering. And Lord, we just ask you to let whatever we do be done pleasing in your sight. We ask you to bless all that we'll do to bind and pray for. There are those in this world who do not have the necessities of life. Pray, God, that you supply their every need according to your riches and glory. Pray for the peace of Israel. Pray for those places where the storms are raised. Pray, God, that you will continue to bless. And we give you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And John has been a pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church for a number of years, and I'm sure everybody wants to make a change. 29 years. He's a good man. If you want to change in your church, or if you're looking for a new church, I'm sure they'd love to have you. Agenda changes, we have none, but in recognition of Black History Month, I'm going to ask that Tammy Sadler Jones, she's got something that she wants to read, and then she's going to introduce the spiritual heirs. They're going to come sing for us. So.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, citizens of Smyrna. I would like to encourage all of you to please come out this weekend to the Smyrna Public Library. The staff there have been very diligent in putting together a program on this coming Saturday, February the 23rd. That program is entitled Black History Month, Stories for the Whole Family, and it will begin at 11 a.m. and go until 12 a.m. There will be poems, stories, and songs shared by Cobb Cluster of the Southern Order of Storytellers. Also, on Sunday, February the 24th, another exciting day. That particular event is called A Celebration of Past, Present, and Future, featuring Robin Washington Banks and Charles Black. Miss Washington Banks is an educator and an author. She presents colors, character, and choices. She is the great-granddaughter of Booker T. Washington and the daughter of a Tuskegee Airman. Mr. Charles Black is a professional actor and community activist, and he presents Hidden Heroes of History. So we would like for you to please come out on this coming weekend. That's going to be on Saturday, February 23rd at 11 a.m. to 12 noon. And then on Sunday, the event will start at 2 p.m. and end at 4 p.m. Smyrna Public Library. And for more information, you can check out our city website, www.smyrnacity.com. And for those of you who follow us on Facebook, you can check out the site, which is www.facebook.com/Smyrna, City of Smyrna, GA. www.facebook.com/City of Smyrna, GA. Thank you very much. And at this time, Ms. Anolowitz will introduce our singers.
Thank you. Yes, and before I do that, I'd also like to note that on the evening of the 23rd of February at 7 p.m., there will be an additional Black History Month celebration at Campbell Middle School. So that will be a wonderful event to attend as well. It's going to be a fantastic weekend with amazing speakers. And at this time, I'd now like to introduce the Spiritual Heirs of Smyrna and invite them up towards the front. They are a gospel group that has been performing together for more than 50 years. They are phenomenal, and you are really in for a treat. I'd be remiss if I did not mention that they lost Mr. Billy Bedford Sr. this past September, who was a founding member of the group, and I know that he is with us here tonight. And after the performance, I'd like to invite each of the members to introduce themselves, but at this time I would like to introduce the Spiritual Heirs of Smyrna.
Wait a minute, hold it. Who's that? There's somebody following you right there. Good night, alive.
Pleasure to be here tonight. Out of Spring, Georgia, and we just come to give God the praise tonight. Brother Blunt.
My name is Jerry Allen.
I'm William Blunt.
My name is Alvin Bedford.
I'm Carrie Bedford.
I'm Peyton Bedford.
Truly, we are here tonight, and we always in this life, first of all, we want to be led right. We always ask the Lord to guide us while we're on a journey now. But we want to, from this journey, we want to journey on up to heaven as we sing and live the life. And this song says, Christian journey. Lord, while I'm on this Christian journey, guide me. Lord, while I'm on the Christian journey, will you
Guide me,
Lord, while
I'm on
this
Christian journey.
guide me.
Guide
Lord, while I'm on this
Christian journey.
guide me.
Guide me.
Teach me,
Teach me how to walk
Lord,
and pray.
oh Lord,
And pray.
Lord, said when I suffered all night long, will you
Guide me.
Lord, when I
Suffer
oh
long.
guide me,
Guide
Lord, when I
when I
suffered all
night long.
guide me,
Guide me.
teach me,
Teach me how to walk
Lord.
and pray.
Sometimes we have to cry. Lord said when I've cried all night long, will you
Guide me.
Lord, when I
Cry
cried all
night long.
guide me,
Guide
Lord, when I cried all night long, guide
me.
teach
Teach
me,
me how to watch
Lord,
and pray.
oh Lord,
And pray.
praise God. We thank God for the Lord's guidance. We'll always be led right. Don't go our way now. We go the wrong way. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And Brother Jerry going to tell you, dear Lord above, show me the way, which is the way. With dear Lord,
Dear Lord above,
please
show me the way.
I'm begging you, Father.
Lord above,
Oh, don't let me
go astray.
Hey, my Lord,
Lord above,
please show me,
the way.
Lord, and if you hold me, Lord, I will not
go astray.
I said again, dear Lord,
above,
please show me,
the way.
I'm begging you, Father,
Above,
oh, don't let me
go astray.
Hey, my Lord,
Lord above,
please show me,
the way.
Lord,
If you hold me, Lord, I will not
Go astray.
listen. If you will, Lord, in my life I had so many ups and downs and trouble just all around me. I'm not at ease. I'm not afraid. I know the Lord help me. Running race. Oh Lord, please show me
The way.
I'm begging you, Father. Oh, don't let me,
Let me go astray.
hey, my Lord.
Dear Lord above,
Please show me,
show me the way.
Lord, and if you hold me, Lord, I will not
Go astray.
listen. If you will now, in my life I had so many ups and downs and trouble just all around me. I'm not easy. I'm not afraid. I know the Lord help me run this race. Oh Lord, please show me.
The way.
I'm begging you, Father.
Lord above,
Oh, don't let me.
let me go astray.
Hey, my Lord,
Dear Lord above,
please show me.
show me the way.
Lord, and if you hold me, Lord, if you hold me, everything will be all right. Lord, if you hold me, everything will be all right. Father can't hold me, mother can't hold me, sisters can't hold me, brother can't hold me. Nobody but you, Lord. Nobody but you, Lord. Well, dear Lord, please show me.
The way.
I'm begging you, Father. Oh, don't let me.
Let me go astray.
Hey, my Lord,
Dear Lord above,
please show me.
show me the way.
Lord, and if you hold me, Lord, I will not.
Go astray.
Up here, this little young man right here. We want you to hear him a little bit. Carrie and Peyton. Amen.
Just stool up underneath that.
Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen.
Amen.
One more time.
Amen.
One for Father, one for Son, one for Holy Ghost. Low down your chariot. God is able.
God is able
Just
to carry you through.
makes no difference
It makes no difference
what the world.
what the world may do.
All you got to do is
Trust in Jesus.
every day.
Everything you do,
God is able.
God is able
Just
to carry you through.
God is able.
God is able
Just
to carry you through.
makes no difference
It makes no difference
what the world.
what the world may do.
All you got to do is
Trust in Jesus.
everything.
Everything you do,
God is able.
God is able
Just
to carry you through.
trouble in my way.
Trouble in my way,
I have to cross sometime.
have to cry sometimes.
Lord, trouble.
Trouble in my way,
I have to cry.
have to cry sometimes.
I lay awake at night.
I laid awake at night,
I lay awake at night.
I laid awake at night.
But that's alright.
That's alright.
I know Jesus,
Jesus, He will fix it.
He fits it in the morning.
Jesus, He will fix it.
He fits it in the evening.
Jesus, He will fix it. Jesus, He will fix it. After a while, after a while.
Could y'all want, before y'all sit down, I want to make sure that, was there 2 Bedfords and 1 William Blunt? Are y'all any kin to Corky Bedford? Now, Corky Bedford worked for the city for I don't know how many years. One of the best workers, sort of like the Cooper boys. And let me tell you, Corky Bedford was the only one that knew where all the water lines were. And he wouldn't tell nobody. And Mr. Blunt used to live on Knoll Road. Well, I was a mailman over there. I was putting your mail on Knoll Road. But I thank y'all so much for coming. We want y'all back next year, and y'all stick around. Thank y'all. That little Bow Wow did good, didn't he? Hey, Garvis, those folks were here for you. We've got a couple of proclamations and some recognition of some folks. We're going to start off with proclamation for Georgia Arbor Day. And Kirk, if you'll come on up, because we're going to go from there straight to the Keep Smyrna Beautiful 2012 National Awards. And I know Ann's, Corky, if you'll read that and present that to her, then we're going to get Ann to recognize not only the people that are here for the Arbor Day. Oh, the Tree City's here, and Andrew's going to do that. Well, you're going to recognize your Keep Smyrna Beautiful folks that make us a better place.
A proclamation, let me turn this around here. A proclamation by the mayor of the city of Smyrna, Georgia Arbor Day. Whereas the first Arbor Day was celebrated in 1872 in Nebraska as a special day for planting trees, and has grown to thousands of celebrations in communities across our nation each year. And whereas community partners, families, and friends will be joined together at local Arbor Day ceremonies in recognition and to recognize the benefits of trees and urban forests, and whereas trees will be planted across the state, creating a lasting legacy for future generations, and whereas trees improve water quality and quantity, reduce the erosion of precious topsoil, increase property values and economic vitality in business areas, provide shade, cleanse the air, create habitat for wildlife, and add beauty to communities. And whereas trees promote outdoor recreation, which improves human health and well-being and reduces nature deficit disorder in children by encouraging more activity and connection to the natural world. And whereas all of the Georgia benefits from forestry, which contributes billions of dollars annually to our state's economy and provides employment for more than 100,000 people. Now, therefore, I, A. Max Bacon, Mayor of the City of Smyrna, Georgia, do hereby proclaim February 15th, 2013 as Arbor Day in Georgia and encourage our citizens to chant please, thus leaving a legacy to present and future generations, to present and future generations. Thank you, Ann. I'd like to ask our tree board to stand up. I see some members out here, at least one. I see Carl. I know there's several out here. This is a tree board for the city of Smyrna, and they work very hard to keep planting trees within the city at various different public locations and around Smyrna, and they do a very good job of it.
Corky, you want to go ahead and say a brief word, then I'm sure Ann's going to talk a long time about the 2012 National.
I would. I'd like to recognize Ann on one other issue. This year, I believe she and Jennifer Bennett went to Washington, D.C. to accept the award. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the 10th year in a row that Smyrna has been recognized in some fashion or another. But this year we received a first place award for nonprofit litter prevention nationwide for the theme "Littering is Wrong" within the city of Smyrna. That was a first place award. We also received a second place award for the National Affiliate Award, recognizing excellence in overall programming and results. And I'm going to let Ann tell you a little bit more about that because she knows a little bit more about it than I do. Ann?
Welch, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to get the Keep Smyrna Beautiful board members that are here to come forward, please. I'd like to introduce the board. These are the folks that are responsible for running the programs that got us this award. And every year it's different. Every year the competition is different. So this is uniquely their award. And I'll introduce them, the ones that are here, and then tell you about the ones that could not be here tonight. Roz Akadafe, and she is with Ward 1. Eva Tackett is an at-large member. Ed Plansker is at-large. Gina Davis, Gina Bridges, I always call her that, just retired from our board, but she was a big part of this. She had 6 years as a board member with Keep Smyrna Beautiful. And as the real estate market has picked up, she has had to go back to work full-time. So Angie Bolton, who I'll talk about a little bit more, she is an at-large member. Lois Lewis, at-large. And Alex Bretsch, he is Ward 4. We could not have tonight Liz Davis, Stephanie Bush, Betty Williams, Nell Robinson, and Pam Dobb. They could not be with us, and Eric Dennis. But all of them played an integral part in winning these awards, and I would like for everybody to give them a big round of applause. And we have a celebrity in our midst because Angie Bolton won the Keep America Beautiful Volunteer of the Year Award for the entire country.
All right.
This is the Mrs. Lyndon Baines Johnson Award. And they gave her a Baccarat fish bowl, but she didn't bring it tonight. I said,
weighs 45 pounds.
So congratulations to Angie.
I just want to thank all the volunteers that give up their time. This is a non-paying board, and they do such a great job because they care about the city. And Angie Bolton with IBM, I can't say enough about her. They are truly the partner in business that really gives back to their community, and you'll see them out doing different things, and we really appreciate it. And you're a great volunteer, and you're the best, and you got the award, and it weighs 45 pounds.
It's really heavy. Standing in line for pictures, the man in front of me volunteered to hold it for me. So, yeah.
Well, and you know, I always want to take an opportunity to thank Larry and Sue Brissy, who, for years before we even had the Keep Smyrna Beautiful board, that they were out promoting getting Smyrna cleaned up, and they used to come to council meetings and aggravate everybody, but they were there. They were right, and they helped so much to make Smyrna a nicer, cleaner place to live. And I know Sue's still here, and Larry passed away a few years ago, but I miss seeing them. They never bothered me because, I mean, I listened to them, but they good folks, and they gave back to the community. So thank y'all so much. Anything else you want to say? Do y'all sing?
We couldn't follow that.
Yeah.
I will say that we have enjoyed for years good support from the mayor and council and the department heads. All of them, without fail, support this program as well. It's not just a few, it's every single one. And without that, these awards would not be possible. So thank you very much for recognizing their accomplishments. Take care.
Thank y'all so much. Lois, I like your hat.
Thank you.
Looks good. Thank y'all so much.
It was my mom's. Keep her with me.
Thank y'all. Item C, we're going to jump up back to that. That's presentation of the Tree City USA Award. Andrea Bluestein from Ward 2.
Yes, at this time I would like to ask Ken Cedrus to please come forward to present the Tree City USA Award.
Thank you. We do have Carl Valenzuela from the tree board here. Carl, did you want to introduce anybody else?
Well, she stood up just a moment ago, but Jan Campbell, one of our board members, is also here. So.
460 Highview Drive. They're my neighbors.
I thought it was because you were a mailman.
We also received an award. This one happened to come through the Community Development Department. We are fortunate to have the tree board as one of our committees. Carl has done a lot of work in the last few years. This award, again, is really recognize the volunteer efforts that the board puts together. I'm sure most people don't realize that the reason that we qualify for a Tree City USA award is because of the amount of effort by the volunteers as well as the money that the city spends. We have to spend at least $2 per capita. Since we have a little over 51,000, this based on our last census, we had to spend a little over $102,000 that could be either in kind labor, volunteer labor, actual dollars, and it actually was a combination of that. The tree board has been great about assisting us in putting together those figures. The award that we have today, part of which is in the sign there, that we can work with Public Works to help get displayed somewhere in the city. But we also have received this plaque that I want to present to council that says we have been a Tree City for 10 years on that, and that's quite an accomplishment. I know you see it in other communities, and we stand with them as well. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to show everybody the award that we've got today for being a Tree City for 10 years. Carl, did you want to say anything?
I'd just like to echo Ken's comments and thank our past chairman, Michael Strieger, as well as Ann Kirk and her staff, who were instrumental in getting us established as a Tree City USA when they established the tree board 10 years ago now. And also, as Ken said, the mayor and council's support through the years. It is in part due to the contribution of the city staff and the city's ongoing efforts to replant and care for the trees within the city. So we love to do our part, and we appreciate the fact that you guys are a big help as well.
Carl, how long have you been on the board?
I was actually one of the original members, so I've been on the board now 10 years.
And there's some other members back there? I know the
Campbell is, yes, one of our current board members. And
good deal.
She was
Thank y'all so much for what y'all do.
Thank you.
Y'all aren't any Ann Kirk yet. You're no Ann Kirk, but you're close. You're getting there.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Thank y'all so much.
And with council's permission, we will display this in the Community Development Office.
Great, good deal. Good deal. Thank you, Ken. Thank y'all. I'm going to break away from the normal agenda. Next would be land issue, zonings, and annexation. And I'm going to ask that we go ahead and move to item 6D. And while the folks are here from Keep Smyrna Beautiful, that's to accept the donation of a healing garden from Taylor Bronner Park, for Taylor Bronner Park, from the estate of Sharon Darby. Eric, going to give us the background on that, then I'm going to turn it over to Corky Welch.
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Mayor. The representatives from the estate of Sharon Darby, in particular Joan Stewart, approached the city late in the fall to inquire about whether the city would be interested in receiving a donation of a healing garden to be located in the Taylor Bronner Park. This can be located back in the back half of the parking lot of the park, behind the parking lot behind the building, the Bronner Hospital building. Sharon Darby was contributed a lot to her community, and it was really kind of an honor for the city to be able to receive such a donation, and so we wanted to publicly announce this tonight so that everybody could get excited for the healing garden that's going to be coming here within the next couple of months. We do recommend approval of this donation.
Right. And this is under Corky Welch's, it's his district. And Corky?
Thank you. And do y'all have a presentation, or do you just want me to?
I brought the PowerPoint, if you would. Oh, I can.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice for everybody to see the little PowerPoint presentation of what's
And this won't take
being
just a second.
proposed.
And there's
It's-
folks here from the Keep Smyrna Beautiful, and Sharon Darby was a big part of the community. She had a business here, and she very much loves Smyrna. She was always involved in the awards banquet because she supplied the awards. And I know that she loved Smyrna, and she loved her dogs. I think she had a little poodle. But you have to understand, I mean, she was all about Smyrna. She was one of our biggest supporters. So, Ann, make this quick.
I will.
Let you go first.
This is the area that will be involved in this healing garden, and I don't think you can see it so well on the slide, but it is eroded. It was raining when the slide was taken, and a lot of that is mud coming down there. These are the cooling towers at the back of the parking lot. They make quite a bit of noise, so there will be a wall built to reflect the noise back into the parking lot and away from the park. It will also help to screen that beautiful piece of equipment from the rest of the park. This is the existing conditions with the trees and the walkway on a scale, and this is flipped over so that you can see the parking lot is on the left and the back of the property is on the right. There'll be a sidewalk that curves down through the property and up into a teardrop shape in the back part of the property with two benches and possibly some sculpture. And it doesn't look, you can't see the colors as well, but this is the landscaping. The blue pointy things on the sides are a spruce, and they'll be they're very drought resistant and would be a beautiful backdrop for the garden. And the plants that are the little circles in front of it are winter berries, and they are really, really beautiful. We have 3 of those over at the Arboretum if you'd like to see them. But they produce beautiful red berries. They're deciduous. The leaves fall in the wintertime, but the berries stay. And then the pink, larger circles are red buds, and there's some rosemary, some daylilies, and some jonquils that will be planted there. Most of these are native plants and very acclimated to the area, should not take much maintenance. This is the cedar when it's full grown. And those are the beauty berries. If you can see the red berries that are so prevalent at the top of it, they almost look like blooms, but they're actually berries. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ann. I'd just like to thank Ms. Jones Stewart and Ann for both putting a lot of time and energy into this. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the city accept the donation of the Healing Garden for Taylor Bronner Park from the estate of Ms. Sharon Darby.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Welch and a second from...
Second.
Second, Mr. Lineker. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lineker.
I'd just like to thank the estate of Sharon Darby. Over the years that I've been on council, I got to know Sharon and work with her, did business with her, saw her contributions to the city. What we have tonight is, in my experience, very unusual. Max, I don't remember a citizen like this bequeathing their estate to the city that they loved. I mean, Sharon loved the city of Smyrna. She was involved in so many things, I won't even try to list them all for you, but she was an active member of this community, loved the city, gave back to the city every day, and even after she's gone, she's still giving back to the city. What's not to love about this woman and the example that she's setting for us? I appreciate her estate making this gift to the city.
She's a long-term resident of Ward 6 and 7. But I agree. Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That is approved 7-0. Thank y'all very much. We'll move into item 4, land issue, zonings, and annexation. Item A is a public hearing, zoning request Z12-009, modifications of currently approved site plans and building elevation 6.42 acre tract, land lot 620, 677, 4560 South Cobb Drive, Columbia Properties, Inc. Mr. Taylor, the background, please. I know the applicant's here because the Garbage Sam Singers were here. Mr. Taylor, the background.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, for clarification, this particular piece of property is the property at the corner of South Cobb Drive and East-West Connector that was formerly the home of the Home Depot Landscape Supply Store. And this particular property was subsequently rezoned after the Home Depot Landscape Supply went out of business on March the 2nd, 2009, and was conditioned upon the site plan and the building elevations that were submitted with that rezoning packet. The applicant is now seeking a zoning amendment to amend that site plan and building elevations for the remaining portion of the development. Specifically, the applicant is proposing to subdivide the 4 currently approved parcels into 7 individual parcels with independent uses, including a bank and auto parts retailer, office space, retail space, and 2 drive-through fast food restaurants. The community development has given a lot of thought to this particular zoning request, and their recommendation is to deny this request.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that is for or against this zoning that'd like to make any public comment? We would like for you to come forward this time and be sworn in. Anybody that wants to make a public comment, either for or against, I'd like to get everybody sworn in at one time. So you please step forward.
Ahead of time.
Pardon me?
I didn't sign up ahead of time.
You don't have to. You get sworn in right now. Anybody else? Now, even if you just think you want to make a comment, this is concerning a modification to the plan at the East-West Connector and South Cobb Drive. Okay, y'all step forward, please. If you folks will have a seat, this is in Mr. Wade Lundek's ward, and I'm sure Wade's going to turn it over to Mr. Ken Sudworth to make a presentation. Wade?
Yes, sir. I would like to ask Mr. Sudworth to come forward and make a staff presentation on this proposed zoning amendment.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor has outlined in general what community development's recommendation is, but I want to give you a little more specifics. You all have this in your packet of information, so there's nothing new in this presentation. Columbia Properties is the applicant, they're the title holder. This is a modification issue. This is not a use issue. We're not changing uses. We're not changing zoning classifications. We're changing stuff that's embedded within an approved classification. So you'll see existing zoning is GC conditional, and the proposed zoning is GC conditional. The zoning maps and the future development map both show the area to be a type of commercial zoning and classification. As I've stated, the modification, approval of the modifications to the plan is what they are asking. They're also asking for approval to change the building elevations, which I will go into. They're also asking for approval to have a freestanding monument sign for the Krispy Kreme. I know that we have, half of council is new and wasn't here when this property was last amended several years ago. But from a sign standpoint, they were allowed to have sort of the shopping center identification monument signs. They were going to have, they were allowed to have 2 of those, 1 on each street frontage. Here, this would add another monument sign, so that's why that's listed there. This is the currently approved site plan. There are 2 developments already on this property. If you look at the screen, on the right side of the screen, you see a curved drive. That actually lines up with Gaylor, which is across the street. That has an existing traffic light on it now. Then you have the Eye Doctor in the first lot, and then the next two lots have been combined, and that's where we have the racetrack. What we are dealing with then in the modifications of this, and you'll see that in the next slide, is dealing with the rest of the property. I forgot we had one other slide here. These are the currently approved building elevations that show that each one of the lots basically were having freestanding multi-tenant buildings. Now, under the proposed site plan, they are going to freestanding single-use buildings on a couple of the lots, actually 3 of the lots. There are no curb cut changes. The lower part of the plan just highlights those buildings and parking areas and landscaping, just to give you, to make that come off the screen so you could see it better. There's also one tract of land that would still be available for multi-tenant buildings that could be used, as well as some property towards the back of the property that could be used for offices as well. So not all of the property is scheduled for development, only 3 lots of what's remaining. One of them is a Del Taco. These are the proposed building elevations for that. The Del Taco is actually off of the east-west side of the property. There's also a proposed Krispy Kreme, which would be off of the South Cobb side of the property, and it would be right next to Jim and Nick's restaurant. This is the proposed signs. And then the third parcel is proposed elevations for the AutoZone. Pictures of the subject property showing that it's mostly vacant, although it's somewhat hard to see in the lower right slide. That is the racetrack there. The staff's recommendation, we've already said, is for denial. Community Development agrees that the economic realities of today are different than in 2008-2009 when this plan was originally put together and approved. However, totally changing the possibilities of the plan for economic reasons is only beneficial for a short period of time. Staff feels that the proposed buildings will have a life expectancy of at least 30 years, if not longer. And if that's the case, then the question must be asked, is it worth changing something to have it today when it may limit more optimal uses in the future? We feel that there are several gateway properties throughout the city, and although each property is located in different areas, they all have the same common theme of trying to create a place where people want to go and be, in essence, a place that people use and encourage other people to be at because it's viewed as unique, trendy, interesting, whatever word you would like to use there. It's Community Development's opinion that the existing plan stands a better chance of creating that environment. As such, Community Development recommends denial. All of the further detail associated with the request is indeed listed in the report, as well as the attachments that you have. I am happy to answer any questions or go back to any particular slide that you would like.
Mr. Sudworth, I know embedded in the proposed site plan are a number of variances. Some of them are related to parking, if my count is right in your issue sheet. There are 5 separate variances related to parking. Are there not also some other variances related to signage or other things?
Correct, yes. They are embedded. I didn't go through the specifics of that since they are in the report. But to achieve the site plan that they have now, there would be some variances to parking issues. Obviously, signage changes because now we're dealing with individual buildings. What they are proposing for the Krispy Kreme and the monument obviously has to be considered and taken into account as well.
Do we have any idea of what the total number roughly of variances might be? Based on the elevations and colors?
I can, when I sit back down, if you will allow me, Mr. Lineker, I'll go back through the report and give you a total in just a few minutes.
Okay. Mr. Sams may also know that information. Just curious.
Ken, since 2008, I know the economy has really taken a dive, and we've got Jonquil Plaza. Belmont Hills is partially started with the school, and we got some housing going up there. Have we had anybody that's, I know Columbia Properties is, excuse me, is on the property. Have they come forward with anything other than this that you're aware of? I mean, we did the racetrack, and we did the I Group, Dr. Wise.
Correct.
Pretty much the property just been sitting there, hasn't it?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Any questions of Ken before he? Okay. Mr. Garvis, Sam, who's representing Columbia Properties.
First of all, good evening, Mr. Mayor. A hard act to follow with everything that's gone on tonight with the tree presentations and the wonderful gospel singing, but tough acts to follow indeed. But for the record, my name is Garvis Sams. I'm with the law firm of Sams, Larkin, and Huff, and we do represent Columbia Properties in connection with this application for a zoning amendment tonight. I've got a development team with me. I have, first of all, Mr. Dan O'Neill, who's the head of Columbia Properties, who's here tonight. David Shanahan, who's our project manager, and who's also the project manager with respect to the racetrack and the Smyrna I Group that was amended to the plan back in 2010. Have also Mr. Jeremy Pettit, who's representing tonight the Del Taco. Mr. Mike Neal, who's here representing and speaking on behalf of Colliers International, representing the Krispy Kreme. Mark LaCroix, the principal in LaCroix Engineering, who's here tonight representing the AutoZone interests. And I believe we may have our site planner and our engineer, Mr. John Paulson, with Paulson Mitchell. Paulson Mitchell was the engineer that was head of the project in 2008 and 2009 when this went through the original rezoning, and again is the engineer as well this evening. This particular application that you're hearing, it's not a zoning application. It's not a variance application. It's an application to approve an amendment to an existing site plan. We have tabled this on two separate occasions, really as an accommodation to us in order for us to be in a position to provide you with some additional documentation and information so that you can be fully apprised, fully aware of the proposal. And but we were able to meet with you at your Committee of the Whole work session in January, on January the 28th, and then Councilman Lineker and Fennell were in a position to be able to invite us to attend the public informational hearing that was heard on February the 7th at Jim and Nick's, which is just a little bit removed from this property. It's contiguous to it. Mayor Bacon attended that meeting as well as the two councilmen mentioned, and I certainly wouldn't want to leave out staff. So it was well attended. There were probably about 25 or 30 people there, if I was guessing at it, and it was a vigorous discussion. To understand really the future of this property, you've got to understand its past. Columbia's owned it since 2008. Columbia's been an excellent steward of this property and a good ambassador, we think, for the city. That started out in 2003, as Mr. Sudler said, as a Home Depot garden supply center, and either because it was so significantly below road grade or because of the market conditions at the time, or maybe it was just a poor business model. I don't know the reasons. Maybe it's the culmination of the confluence of all those reasons, but ultimately that store went dark. Columbia purchased the property, and prior to coming through the rezoning process in 2008, the latter part of 2008, early part of 2009, Columbia spent a little over $1 million demolishing the Home Depot, balancing and grading the site, bringing it up to road grade, and otherwise getting it into position so it'd be pad ready for development that anticipate would come. And this was done prior to coming back or coming to you for the rezoning in late 2008. When we filed the zoning in 2008, of course, one of the first steps was meeting with Councilman Lenica. It's in his ward, borders Mr. Fennell's ward, formerly Mr. Wood's ward. So we had extensive discussions with Mr. Lenica, with the city's staff, and with area residents as well, primarily the Westchester Commons Homeowners Association, who are nearby. We also had discussions with the apartment group and actually had a land swap that accommodated them and accommodated us in terms of straightening out property lines. But this was a lengthy and comprehensive process, and I don't say that as a criticism. I say that as a tribute to the way your staff works and the way Columbia works in making certain that the proposal is going to be palatable, not only from a political perspective and land use perspective, but from a financial perspective as well. But at the end of the day, so to speak, we agreed to eliminate or prohibit 13 otherwise permissible uses under the GC classification, some of the more onerous uses that whether this is a gateway or not, you wouldn't want to see there, Columbia wouldn't want to see there, and doesn't engender the kind of business model that you want for your community. Those stipulations, of course, are in place now, as well as additional stipulations and conditions regarding as Mr. Sudworth has mentioned, signage, lighting, ingress and egress, and other issues attendant to the development. Not one single one of those prohibitive uses, nor any of the stipulations, disallow the build-out of the proposed uses that are before you tonight, and I think Mr. Sudworth was clear about that. So we're not here to approve the use of Krispy Kreme or AutoZone, or Del Taco, or the bank that ultimately will go on the corner that hadn't been identified yet. About 1 year subsequent to the entitlement of this property and its GC classification for the purposes sought by Columbia, we came back to you and with a proposal for a racetrack and the Smyrna I Group. As you saw by the plan, the original plan and the proposed plan, they have been built. They are in place. They're operational, they're highly attractive, they're very functional, very efficient. But at that time, in 2010, we didn't add any additional stipulations or conditions. There were no additional prohibited uses, so there's nothing that happened in 2010 that in any way would do anything to alter the course. And this is the course that you as a city council set with our acquiescence back in 2008, 2009. In terms of mass, if you looked at the two site plans in juxtaposition to each other, these are really very minor changes that have taken place. We've gone from 9 retail buildings to 10 retail buildings. We've reduced the overall square footage from 78,000 square feet to 62,000 square feet. And you can see that notwithstanding the statements that were made in the staff analysis, that this was a major deviation from the site plan, quite the contrary is actually true. If you look at the site plan that you have in the package of information before you, you can see there are really 3 changes that were made. Number one, the original site plan of 2008-2009 showed approximately 1 to 1.5 acre tract of land located at the pin corner of the intersection of South Cobb Drive and the east-west connector. That was slated to be a CVS pharmacy. So what we've done there with the old plan and in relation to the new plan is that 1.5 acre tract has been divided or subdivided into 2 tracts. So now we have the bank on the pin corner of half of that, and the balance of that is for the Krispy Kreme, which will be oriented toward South Cobb Drive. The number 2 minor modification that you see in relation to the 2 site plans is the position of the original retail building and the AutoZone tract that we have simply been reversed. The third one was that the original retail building that we had, the inline retail that we still maintain, had been reduced from 22,000 to 15,000 square feet, so an approximate 7,000 square foot reduction in the inline retail. The plan tonight still reflects the inline retail, although a bit less square footage, and it also, which is 15,000 square feet of inline retail, and an additional 8,000 square feet of inline office space as well. Now, rather than a speculative development, dependent upon the vagaries of this strange economy that we're in, you have before you three very solid, proven businesses, both national and internationally known, who will be investing literally millions of dollars after this property has lain idle for these many years. Another way to look at it is, in addition to the dollars that they'll be expending, they add to the tax base of the city in a permanent, immediate fashion, with construction on all three of these to begin the spring of 2013, assuming an approval on your part. But rather than an amorphous type of a retail, small type tenant with the inline retail, where you get someone with approximately a 2 to 3 year lease and hope they'll be able to make the rent, hope they'll be able to stay there, and that your store frontages don't go dark, as so many have, not just in the city, but in Cobb County and metropolitan Atlanta. You have Krispy Kreme committing to a 15-year lease. You have Del Taco committing to a 20-year lease. You have AutoZone that is buying the property in fee simple. Substantial vested interest that these three would have in the community and in the site. Now remember, again, I don't mean to be repetitive, but tonight is not a vote up or down to approve the AutoZone use, the Del Taco use, or the Krispy Kreme use. They're already approved. This is simply a vote as to whether those uses can be placed in a position that is most advantageous to those entities. And those entities, by letters that were provided to you prior to your work session meeting, have all expressed the importance of being freestanding entities and not end caps on inline retail. Tomorrow, regardless of what you do, whether it's a zone or an approval or a disapproval, we can submit plans for a freestanding AutoZone. What is shown is out parcel 2 on that plan that Mr. Sudler showed you from 2009, and build that. Unfortunately, what that would do, and the building that you see was actually planned around their prototype at the time, but AutoZone walked at that time and got reinterested when another similar type facility launched in that immediate community activity center area. But what happens if we go to that old out parcel 2 for the AutoZone, it literally splits the site almost in half, and it really precludes a more efficient utilization of this property in terms of the revised site plan that you have before you now, particularly in terms of interior traffic circulation and the optimum sites for these type of businesses. If you've seen the site plans and the aerial photographs that are part of your package, you know that this development is bracketed by the very successful Jim and Nick's, which is not owned or not a part of Columbia, but nevertheless, we're proud to be their neighbors, and they've been very cooperative, not just with the town hall meeting that they allowed us to have there, but also with respect to their support of what we're trying to do. But you have it bracketed by Jim and Nick's on one side, the already operational improvements that Racetrack and the Smyrna I Group have put up. This is all aided by a signalized intersection on the east-west connector that was not there before we negotiated with Cobb County and Cobb County DOT to ensure that we were able to get that signalized intersection. Also, as I mentioned, improved interior traffic circulation. We view this as an opportune time that's presented to the city that really should not be squandered because it's not viewed as cool, or it's not viewed as interesting or unique. That's nice, and you see that coolness, and I use that word because it was used in the staff report. I'm not trying to be flippant, but that coolness or that presence, that's a luxury that observers may be able to make. But when it comes right down to it, you as a city have to make a decision based upon what's right for the city in long term. And when it comes to Columbia, they have to make this decision that's right for the city, but also a financial decision that's in their best interest. So you can either adhere to the original plan and lose flexibility, or you can approve the plan that's before you this evening and allow yourself the latitude and flexibility to embrace a much more efficient plan, which reduces the overall impacts in terms of the reduction in density, allows proven, successful, either nationally or internationally known businesses, while maintaining still 15,000 square feet of inline retail in your offices for that cool and interesting component from the original plan. So we haven't deviated from, nor have we walked away from the original concept. It just simply hasn't been attractive to the type of tenants that you would like to see in the city of Smyrna. If it had, we would have built it. Now, I think that you all know and understand that I respect Mr. Sudworth and his staff and think that the Community Development Department in the city is probably one of the finest in the 7-county metropolitan Atlanta area, and I work in all of them. For this particular proposed amendment, staff has done what it's supposed to do in terms of going through the criteria, the 9 different factors that it's required to review in terms of making an analysis in a zoning or an amendment type scenario. And when I read the first page of the staff's analysis and recommendations and saw the recommendation for denial, I said, well, let me turn the pages and find out how that's substantiated. But instead I found a compelling, very compelling story that supported it in terms of the criteria that you have to go through legally. Staff, and I'm quoting, has said that the zoning proposal will permit uses that are suitable in the context of the use and development of nearby adjacent properties, and it's in comparable fashion to nearby outparcel and development of the same ilk. They didn't use the word ilk, otherwise that was a quote. Staff also noted that the zoning proposal will not adversely affect the use and usability of adjacent or nearby properties, with the access to the site remaining unchanged. Your city engineer, your public works director, in conjunction with Mr. Sudworth and his staff, have found that, and I quote, the zoning proposal will not create an excessive or burdensome use of existing transportation or other infrastructure and facilities that the city has. Probably most importantly from a legal perspective in terms of what you have to look at, and I certainly don't want to supplant the city attorney's position in that respect, but staff has noted that the zoning proposal is consistent with the future land use map, the comprehensive land use plan, the tenets of the community activity center contained within the comprehensive land use plan, and also all of the stipulations and conditions attendant to the GC zoning that was approved in 2009 with these as permitted uses. Staff has also found that the development will conform the city space or the city's open space and landscaping requirements and will not create a nuisance or be incompatible with existing uses in the area and will not negatively affect adjoining or nearby property. Those are 9 different criteria, objective criteria, that every planner and community development director has to go through in terms of an analysis to give you a recommendation or make an opinion. That's why when I read those, I was buoyed by the fact that I felt like staff made Columbia's case for us, notwithstanding the typographical error on the first page, denial instead of recommendation. In the final analysis, the only request that's not consistent with the 2008-2009 rezoning is the sign that the Krispy Kreme seeks. And you saw there were 2 alternatives. One's a kind of a lollipop sign that, you know, no way you're going for that, and I understand that. The second alternative is the one we knew you would be more inclined to go along with, and that's the ground-based monument-style sign that says 45 feet in terms of square footage. That's important to Krispy Kreme and important to their iconic image. We, as Mr. Sudworth has said, have 2 signs, one on South Cobb, one on East-West Connector, that will ultimately be erected and will identify all the various stores, shops, users, offices, anyone that is in there. But Krispy Kreme felt that was important, and they are asking, and Ken Sudworth's insistence is a part of trying to consolidate and things in an efficient fashion. We filed that so that you're in a position, if you see fit to do so, to grant a contemporaneous or variance contemporaneous to the approval of the amendment. If you're familiar with this intersection, it's been called a gateway to the community, and I'm not sure the definitional aspects of that. I've always kind of construed Atlanta Road and Spring Street and Concord and the roadways that I travel into the city typically to be the gateways. But that notwithstanding, if it's considered a gateway, and you certainly have every right to do that, and you want whatever goes there, you want to be proud of it. But all four quadrants of this intersection at South Cobb and East-West Connector are zoned for commercial utilization. And all but Columbia's property have been developed in very much the same fashion as that proposed by Columbia and what Columbia proposes. If you look across the street, the Publix shopping center, which is in, I believe, unincorporated Cobb County, it is the inline retail, of course, there's the Publix, and then there are 6 out parcels that ring it as well in South Cobb and East-West Connector. This is not unusual. This is not out of place at all. A sense of place, a cool, unique, and interesting features, those aren't created by waiting an inordinate amount of time to develop a piece of property that right now is creating no interest. A sense of place and cool and interesting and unique features are created when you focus upon the viability of the businesses within this city's gateway and whether they work or not. You don't create places or sense of place or cool and interesting businesses by rolling the dice in the context of this economy, which results in dark storefronts or results in the property remaining undeveloped as it has for these years. As Columbia has been the steward of this property, they're asking you, and I don't think in a selfish fashion, but in a fashion that would promote what I would think would be partners in this stewardship to ensure that this property is developed while still maintaining the integrity of what the city wants to see in terms of uses, in terms of positioning, and in terms of activity. So for all these reasons, we very respectfully request that you grant the amendment to the zoning of 2008-2009 as amended by the 2010 Racetrack and Smyrna I Group. I have a number of people here. I know time is limited. You have a full agenda, but I offer that up to let you know that I'm available to respond to any questions you have, or if it's questions specific or specifically related to what these 3 users or what Columbia proposes, then we're positioned tonight, I think, to be able to respond to all those. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, thank you, and I'll conclude my remarks.
Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Sams. I want to thank you and Columbia Properties and all the people involved for being very cooperative and working with us, not just as this project has come forward and been proposed, and we've had a number of meetings on it, but all of my experience with Columbia Properties over the years since they first purchased the property have been positive. I have only good things to say about them and the way they've worked with the city and the staff and the council, and as you said, I think they've been good stewards of the property. I just want to make sure that's very clear.
Thank you, sir.
One quick point of correction, the public shopping center across the street is in incorporated Smyrna. The Twisted Taco across Gaylor Street, that little small strip shopping center, is not in the city. On that side, the dividing line is right there. One of the things I did in considering this afternoon was I drove around the intersection, and there's a number of shopping centers in the immediate vicinity. I went through the public shopping center, and I think I found 1 vacant storefront. I went through, I'll call it the Twisted Taco Shopping Center. I don't really know what the name of it is. It's outside the city. But all those storefronts were full. If you go down South Cobb Drive, directly across from Jim and Nick's, there's a small retail building with 5 storefronts. 4 of the 5 have tenants. 1 is empty. If I go north on South Cobb to where I call it the U.S. Cafe Shopping Center, that's where everybody kind of knows it by, that shopping center is full. All the retail spaces are full. Just north of that and adjacent is the World Gym and some retail spaces. There's one empty space in that location. So we've got a number of these retail centers in the very immediate vicinity, 1, 2, 5 of them, I think 4 storefronts if I counted accurately and assessed them accurately. So one of the things I'm struggling with is the model that we originally created for Columbia Properties on this property was multi-tenant, multi-user buildings, retail or office. And in 5 other almost adjacent or directly adjacent properties, it's working. They're full. What's the struggle with Columbia being able to do a similar kind of plan and engage retail tenants for those spaces so they can succeed as it's currently zoned, one of the criteria?
Well, and I'll defer to your recent examination of those properties. The easy answer is pointing at the economy and saying that those were developed before the economy. That doesn't explain the tendencies that are still there and then the lack of dark frontages. I'd say one thing, and I'm going to ask Dan O'Neill to come up here and tell you specifically about that, but I can promise you it's not a choice that's been made by Mr. O'Neill or Columbia, because they have partners, they have investors, they've got a bank that they have to answer to and make payments to. But if I could ask Mr. O'Neill to come up, and I'll swear him in.
Sure, that'd be fine. And while he's coming forward, I guess there's one other small retail center on the north side of the public shopping center, Maru Sushi, and a couple other cleaners in there. But there's 4 storefronts there, and all 4 are filled. So again, just another data point in the immediate vicinity.
No, fortunately, they were developed before.
Yes, they're all developed before now.
Yeah. This is Mr. Dan O'Neill of Columbia.
Yes. You want to swear him in, Jeffrey?
Thomas Briggs, tell the truth, whole truth,
Okay.
Mr. O'Neill, could you just explain, I guess, the difficulty you're having trying to get
good evening.
tenants as it is?
Appreciate you taking the time to review our application. My name is Dan O'Neill. I'm the managing partner of Columbia Properties. Columbia Properties has been a developer of neighborhood-oriented retail shopping centers in the metro Atlanta area for approximately 33 years. We are a Cobb County-based business, so we've been a member of the community for that entire time. It's difficult to just drive down the street and look at the storefronts and try and get a real sense for what may or may not be happening with other assets around the area. When I say that we've been experienced in neighborhood retail development, we don't do large-scale development. We do a lot of grocery anchor development, Publix anchor development, pharmacy anchor development. These types of tenants are Ballywick. This is what we do. These are the tenants that we know. We have contacts with all of them. If there's one company in the entire city that would have the ability to contact and try and put a deal such as this together, it would be us. So when I say we've tried to uncovered every rock, we really have, and it's been a long process. We put the property under contract, I believe, in in late 2007. So we would have started the marketing process immediately at that point. So we've been marketing to these tenants since late 2007. So what that would make it going on 6 years now. It's also a difficult analysis to look at to just say that there's no vacancy in the area, because we're dealing with lenders and new construction, and when we put the deal together, our lenders need to see a certain degree of pre-leasing, and that pre-leasing has to be at certain rates in order to justify the construction costs. And so when you have existing centers, particularly the ones that were older, in fact, I can tell you the center that is, just from my knowledge of the area and of the business, the center that's adjacent to Publix that has the taco store in it and the bike shop, that one was given back to a lender. The lender then sold it to an investor who reset the basis on that property. The rents on that property originally were in the $30 range per square foot. We looked at the property with the lender, And at the basis that the new buyer has the property, they can release those spaces at well below what they had to originally get for a new construction pricing. And because we're new construction, we haven't started yet, we have to get the new construction pricing in order for it to make sense. And it's hard to compete with the adjacent retail when they have, in that instance, the basis reset. The World Gym Center, same thing, went back to a lender. Group came in and bought it. They reset the basis on that center. Center across the street that's next to Bank of America, it's gone back to a lender. Basis has been reset on that. The Public Center did not go back to a lender, but it's owned by a large real estate investment trust, and they tend to be able to accept lower rents because they have larger amounts of property that have much longer term hold periods, so it's not as important for them to get a year-on-year increases in rents like it would be other centers. So, happy to answer any questions.
Council, have any other questions for Mr. O'Neill?
I'd just like to ask, we've been waiting for this corner to be redeveloped ever since the Home Depot landscaping. And initially, we were all thinking, hey, it'd be great to have some kind of restaurant here with the beautiful skyline view of the downtown. And, of course, we see where, what's the name of the restaurant? Houston's went out of, well, they moved from their location, not really sure what happened. And the Taco Mac further down the east-west connector. And listen, I don't have any problem with Krispy Kreme. I am a Krispy Kreme guy. And when I see that hot light, I'm going to hang a right or do something. And Del Taco, I think they got a new image and a new product. The auto parts gives me a little concern in that sometimes they get to a point where they let people work on their vehicles in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. We had the problem down here at Jonquil Plaza where you go by there and be a car jacked up, and of course, if a water pump goes out, it goes out. So, is there anything in your lease with these folks that would prohibit them from working on vehicles?
This and the AutoZone on this particular deal, we've done several AutoZone deals on other developments where we've signed leases, but this particular one we are selling it to them, so we don't have conditions in the lease. In our other deals, we have had them agree to certain conditions around that. I know it is important to them for things such as, they use the example if a little old lady comes in and she says, I need help changing my wiper blades, they want the option to be able to go out and help her.
And batteries, batteries, I understand that.
And putting a battery in and things like that. I think if you put a condition on there that said there's no oil changes in the parking lot, I know we've had that condition and they've been able to live it. I think Mark LaCroix could probably better answer some of those questions as to what exactly they would and would not be willing to live with as far as conditions go. But
do y'all believe if this is approved tonight and all three of these businesses have got long-term leases, do you think that will attract other businesses to come here?
Absolutely. Our experience, like I said, we have other shopping centers under construction in various stages of construction, and we're one of the few developers right now in town who actually have projects under development at the moment. As soon as you put shovels in the ground, things start happening again. And I anticipate that when that happens, we'll have a much better opportunity to be able to attract the multi-tenant building. When the sign first goes up, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of interest. What tends to happen is that, the sign's been on the property now for 5 years, and the call volume just goes down dramatically.
Just curious as to how many loads of dirt would it take to fill up that sign?
We had 220,000 cubic yards.
That's a lot of dirt.
Yes. We're very ready for it to be developed. So,
I'm looking at a preliminary landscape plan. I wish somebody could pull that up some way. I don't know if Ken can do it. Just trying to make sure I understand where, in this scheme, where Krispy Kreme, and where the Del Taco and the AutoZone are located at.
Mr. Mayor, while he's pulling that up, could I ask a couple of questions of Mr. McNeil? Mr. McNeil.
O'Neill.
O'Neill, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The 3 businesses that you have under contract, how many jobs would be created from those 3 businesses, approximately?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but it was approximately 50 jobs per store. So
about 150 or 60
150,
jobs?
Yes.
Okay. And each one of them is investing a substantial amount of money in their site, would you say?
Yes.
What range?
I think the range was $2 to $4 million, depending on
Per
tenant. Per tenant, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you get it up?
Yeah, there's a site plan.
If I guess if you're looking at this plan, well, mine's gone now. Rusty? Let's see, on this right here, like I can't tell where's South Cobb Drive. Is it at the top? Oh, the left. Okay, the left. So
This is on the bottom.
So the corner there, that's where a bank location may be.
Yes.
And then next to that, so this is actually on South Cobb Drive.
Right.
Where the Krispy Kreme is.
Yep.
The Del Taco, is that next to Racetrack or is that the AutoZone?
Next to Racetrack, that's right.
AutoZone or Del Taco?
Oh, Del Taco is next
Okay.
to Racetrack, and then AutoZone next to them.
Will they use that? Will they use the drive and the light there at Racetrack?
Yeah, I would assume that anyone who's trying to go west on East-West Connector, the plan from this plan from original plan when we put it together was, the thought of pursuing the light in the first place was that all this traffic would be able to funnel down to the traffic signal.
So there's 8 buildings there, and you got 3 of them already occupied.
That's correct.
Any questions, Mr. Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this is for Mr. Sams or Mr. O'Neill, but there was some discussion or some discussion in your presentation, Mr. Sams, about the auto parts store that even if this were denied tonight, that they could go in and build, but there was something about a different type of building or a prototype. Can you explain that once again? I'm sorry.
Sure. If I can respond to a question the mayor had first about the AutoZone, and certainly they can build in what they need with the lease in terms of precluding or making sure there's no kind of repairs or anything like that in the parking lot. But if you look back at the original stipulations and conditions negotiated in 2008, 2009, there's specific conditions that disallow that. So it's already built into the zoning. With respect to the positioning of the AutoZone, Mr. Welch, originally in the 2008-2009 plan, it was positioned, and the building was designed and positioned as out parcel 2. The out parcel 1 on the pin corner was what I call the CVS site. Both CVS and AutoZone walked from the deal at the time because of the changing economic issues, but AutoZone got interested again when there was a similar type of development in the area that came on, and they feel like the demographics are there to support it. I don't think I answered your question. Now, you want to repeat your question?
Basically, you said out parcel 2. If we were to deny this tonight, they would not build on the site shown on the proposed site plan?
That's correct. Well, if you denied, they could not, because...
But they would be back where the out parcel 2 is that where Del Taco is?
No, out parcel 2, I'm referring to the old site plan, and you're not seeing that on your screen right now. Maybe Rusty can get to that. Sometimes I like it better like we did at Jim and Nick's when you got 16, 17 boards you can get to without going through all this sophisticated things. What you're looking at now, I hope is shown on your monitors, is shown on the one overhead here. This is the currently approved site plan. If you look at what I call the pin corner, which is right the site right there at the intersection of South Cobb and East-West Connector, that is an approximate 1.5 acre tract that was designated for utilization by the CVS. If you go to your right, that's out parcel 2 from the original plan that was approved and is still in place. I'm telling you that not that they will, but that if this is voted down, they could submit plans to go into there without a change in the site plan.
And that's the first parcel west of the corner parcel, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Mr. Sams? All right, thank you. We have some folks that were sworn in that would like to make comment. If you please come forward, tell us who you are and where you live at in any order, and make your comments.
Good evening. My name is Yona Hackle. I live at 224 Highlands Ridge Place, Southeast Smyrna. And I've been a resident, and my mother's lived here for many years, since like 1995, and I moved here about 2001 and then bought my condo in about 2006. And I've been watching this corner for many years in terms of its utilization. I'm actually really surprised and very concerned about the plans, and I know at this point it's a bit too late since you've already made the plans, but it's a beautiful property, and in my opinion, you're putting on the same thing over and over again that's been done in many shopping centers across this county, and particularly this city. There's an auto store just down the road going towards the freeway. There's another one further down on South Cobb. There's another Dunkin' Donuts down a block away. There's the Twisted Taco. How many taco places do we need? I'm extremely disappointed in the utilization plans for this site. It's a beautiful property, has great views. It's not taking advantage of its natural resources and the aesthetics of this particular property. It's just putting more concrete in that corner, increasing traffic, as is already done with the racetrack and the eye doctor over there. The additional traffic that's going to be going through there is not going to be able to be utilizing that traffic light, because the racetrack, with the traffic going to get gas, it's very difficult to have other businesses and their attendant traffic going to that light. It's going to be nearly impossible. And this is my concern. This corner is a heavily trafficked corner, has lots of traffic. The morning commute is extremely heavy, as well as probably the afternoon commute, with attendant traffic coming in and out. It's not developed well. I think more study, and if they could develop it in such a manner that has few egress and exits out of there and everything kind of more in the center, that would tend to be a little bit better. But again, I don't know if it's too late for this property or not. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with everything she said. I'm Mary Kirkendall. I live in Smyrna Heights on Oakview. And this is a sad, sad commentary about the city of Smyrna. A Krispy Kreme, a taco stand, a car repair place. Basically, what needs to be addressed is what is causing the skids to come on when developers see the city of Smyrna city limits. That needs to be discussed every minute you're awake and breathing and thinking, Mayor Bacon. We deserve so much better than what we're getting here. I mean, all of you have got to agree there's something horribly wrong. It's just a few blocks away in unincorporated Cobb County in Vinings. You got multi-million-dollar projects popping up on every corner. The Aberdeen, 600 to $1 million, high-rise. It's the same type of corner that this is with Atlanta city views. They're not coming to Smyrna. And I believe Mr. Garvis represented John Wheeland on the new $45 million homes he's about to build on the other side of the tracks on Woodland Brook. And I'd like to know what he thinks. What is the reason nobody's coming to Smyrna? I'm ashamed to be here. I can't sell my house now because I'm not going to be able to get what I need out of it. Believe me, I'd be long gone if I thought I wasn't giving another second house away in Smyrna. The Vinings Jubilee is hopping. Several places have closed there recently, but as soon as they're closed, another place is opened. One Vinings Mountain, $1 million penthouses, high dollar condos and views. Pace's View is another Wheeling property with single-family homes that are in the millions. Well, probably 7 and 8s. And then the apartments that they're building all around Vinings. I drove through the Heights at Stillhouse. Such luxury. In fact, they're describing these and marketing these apartments, that's on Cumberland Boulevard, to accommodate the elite. High-end luxury, very, very big development there. Across from the Riverwood apartments, the Walton community they're building. All these things are huge. The office towers in Vinings. You come to Smyrna, a Krispy Kreme, come on. And I'm embarrassed that you said you were excited about it, Mayor Bacon. I expect so much more from you. You're in charge out here. You need to address the problems why we're not getting anything. Jonquil Village, I was arrested for saying Jonquil Village, there's something wrong there, and we weren't being told the truth. That was 4 years ago. It's sitting empty. I don't want it empty. I'd love to see you prove me wrong, but it's too late now because all these places have been empty for as long as I've been here. God, I'd love to see it get turned around, but it's not going to be when you continue to approve cluttery things everywhere. Up and down South Cobb Drive, I'm sad for the people at Lowest Point. They sunk a lot of money into those homes, but what did they expect? Look at South Cobb Drive. What have you ever done on South Cobb Drive, Mayor Bacon? Where is anything? Crosswalks, trees, talking about Arbor Day. I don't think I've ever seen one street tree planted in the last 4 years anywhere in Smyrna, let alone anything on South Cobb Drive. Am I lying? If I'm lying, tell me. Tell me where the trees are. Let's see. And it's not the economy all over, it's the economy in Smyrna, because I could go through this whole list of Avalon. What they're building up in Alpharetta is going to generate $21 million in sales tax, $4.5 million in property tax, and $1.1 million in hotel tax for Alpharetta. These are the things we need here. We need something big. It's not coming here. You got to find out why it's not coming here. The outlet malls of Atlanta up in Woodstock, the city of Woodstock, you know what they're going to get for having that up there? And it will be grand opening. They just broke ground recently, and the grand opening is in July. It's going to create 3,500 to 4,000 jobs, $130 million in sales annually, and $3 million in sales and property tax for Woodstock and Cherokee County. What kind of sales tax are we going to get from Krispy Kreme donuts? I'm glad to hear zoning said they would like to see this turned down, but it's got to be replaced with something big. That property is a prime piece of real estate that should be a 10, 20-story high-rise. You guys are all in denial. You've got to start addressing what's wrong. And Mr. Welch, your neighborhood, you're in charge of Ward 4, and I've just got to say this, and I know I'm changing the subject, you're going to throw me out of here. But the helicopter was over my house the other night, and it was on Channel 2 News. There they are in Smyrna Heights unloading a grow house. You guys need to come out in the neighborhoods and start cleaning up these neighborhoods and attract better people to the city.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker, we have someone else that signed up.
You want the new one?
No, the existing.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Harold Reichard. I'm a homeowner in Westchester Commons, which borders this, if I can show you the map, borders over here towards the west. So there's two businesses that have opened, the Eye Care Center and the gas station. I know that our community did meet with the developers, and we were promised that they would put in greenery to abate the light and the sound. That has never been done. And since these two properties have gone into operation, there's been a lot of noise, at night, and especially with the gas station, it's 24 hours. People who use their radios, you can hear the radios vibrating in your home, even with the windows and doors closed. So I'd like to see if the city can require that they put up some type of sound abatement to protect the residents who live in the back part of this, which is rental properties, and the homeowners over here in Westchester Commons. I think that there was an agreement that they would do that. There are a few trees that were planted, but they're very narrow, and they would never abate sound or light.
Can I ask you a question? You talking about this zoning or the zoning where we are permitted the eye doctor and the racetrack?
Eye doctor and the gas station.
They were supposed to do something and they didn't do?
Well, we were told there would be a green belt that would block light and sound, and that has never happened. And in fact, today, when I looked over there, there's a lot of litter. So if you open up a couple of more fast food restaurants, there's going to be more traffic 24 hours a day and more litter. So I think that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, while he's sitting down, I'd ask Ken Sudworth and his staff to take a look at the original zoning conditions. And I noticed driving around today that some of those things, trees, cypresses that were planted look like they're dying or may have died, and whose responsibility is that to replace them? So just take a look at those things, if you would, please.
Yeah, and I just want to just say, just for the record, just so everybody knows, the city of Smyrna does not own this property. And, you know, as a result of that, we can't really dictate to someone else what they can ask to be put on that property. And, you know, I mean, I think that's a misconception oftentimes from folks that they think the city owns the property. And, you know, we were thinking it was going to be some, in 07, 08, that it was going to be upscale. And you know, I mean, we went from there to a CVS, and was there something the matter, ma'am? There was a CVS, and they, you know, they walked away. So I'm glad to see something that people are going to make an investment in the city, 30 years worth of, you know. Ken.
I was just wanting to respond to Wade's. Yes, we'll take a look at all of that, Wade, and make sure whatever we need to do, we'll take a step. I also have an answer for your earlier question. There are 5 corridor design variances, and then there's 4 sign variances. So there, if you want to look at it that way, there'd be 9 individual variances. The sign variances relate to the Krispy Kreme. Their area, heights, they wanted to use neon possibly on the sign, as well as just a white background, which is not allowed on that. So to answer your question, there was 9. I also, Corky had asked Mr. Sams about Lot 2 and what was going on. You know, again, and both Garvis and I have a lot of respect for each other. In this case, we just happen to have a professional disagreement about this. And yes, Lot 2 could be used, but it also has to be tied into the elevations that were approved with that, and those elevations are not the look of what was proposed. So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding that they could take the building that's proposed and just move it somewhere else, if indeed that was even considered. There's still elevation issues they have to meet.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fennell.
I wanted to address a couple of things that were commented on in public comment there that, just to reiterate a point, Mr. Mayor, you just made, we don't own any of this property. We don't own Jonquil, we don't own Belmont, we don't own this site. And I saw a healthy agreement from Mr. O'Neill when the mention was made of a high-rise housing complex on this site. That is a great highest and best use opportunity if there ever was one, and it would be great. There are no buyers out there. There are no investors that are willing to do that. To the other point, in the last 10 years, Smyrna has been among the fastest growing cities in population in the state. We grew 25.1% in the past decade. I being one of those new arrivals in Smyrna. I came to Smyrna I live in South Smyrna, just a little further down from this site. I do recognize the traffic issue is a major one. I raised that at our public meeting with the group. There are some things that are within our control, some things that are not within our control. The DOT, certainly Cobb County, is going to have to play a role on the egress points, the traffic light. Were I to have been here in 2008 when the original permit were authorized for the racetrack rather than the access road going in front, I would have probably urged it be behind, and that would have given a longer queue to the Gaylord light that now exists that didn't then. Hindsight, again, can be 20/20, but in our deliberations, we have to consider who owns the property, and in America, private property rights is what distinguishes us from other countries. It's a really important element to who we are as a country and what we as private property owners can do with our property. These folks have invested a significant amount of money in the future of Smyrna, and I know they would like to have the high-end condo tower or the high-end restaurants with the skyline view. They've been asking all of the right people, and the ones they haven't asked, I've been feeding names to. We're in a different economy than we were 10 years ago, than we were even 5 years ago. The opportunity in the near term is more about what is the reality of where we are, and then aspirational, where do we want to go? And certainly we're going to have to deal with those three elements: the traffic issue, the type of tenant mix we want there, but the investment. Who is willing to make the investment? If somebody in this room is willing to make the investment, Mr. O'Neill, meet him in the parking lot to make sure he puts a deal together, whatever your business is, and he has 33 years of experience to do that. I don't. And there aren't many people in this room that can claim that, I guess. And what is a big challenge for us as policymakers, we're trying to address what is a very significant investment on the part of businesses to come to Smyrna that believe in the future of Smyrna. They wouldn't locate a business here if it wasn't going to be successful. They wouldn't put down $2 to $4 million and hope to generate 50 or 60 jobs per location. Despite what we may think or whether we shop there, I probably won't go to the Del Taco or the AutoZone. And I'm prohibited from going to the Krispy Kreme on my health plan. So, Mr. Mayor, you can go there, I guess. But the challenge we have with this site is it's such a great opportunity, yet, as Mr. O'Neill pointed out, what comes first, chicken or the egg? You know, you start activity, you're going to generate and engender some more activity. This isn't perfect. The decision is never going to be an easy one for all of us or any of us. But just recognize that paramount among all this is who owns the property and what are they permitted to do with it at some point. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Sams, anything that you want to respond to?
I just wanted to make just one comment about what the gentleman previously discussed about the landscaping. And this is going back 4 or 5 years now, but we met on several occasions with the president of the Homeowners Association at Westchester and came up with a landscape plan, which we then instituted. So that plan was a collaboration of ourselves and the city and the Homeowners Association at Westchester Commons. So, and most recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've met with the city engineer about the detention pond, which is where the landscape surrounds, and some work that we're in the process of getting done right now on that pond and on the other pond adjacent to Jim and Nick's.
I think there was only 3 people that actually were sworn in. Was there somebody else that was sworn in? I think those were only 3. So, Ms. Anulowicz?
Yeah, just for some background, every day I drive about 50 miles every day, and I'm generally in Smyrna, Buckhead, Sandy Springs. I'm downtown, midtown, Dunwoody. I've lived in Decatur. I've lived in Virginia Highlands. I see a lot of what works, and I see a lot of what doesn't work. And my family, we deliberately chose to make our home here in downtown Smyrna. It's a direct result of the halo effect of downtown Smyrna's redevelopment. We bought our home based on walkability, and we bought our home based on good governance, both in the city and the county. Because I've chosen to raise my family here, I have a very keen interest in this city's success. And I do think it's important to note that the city does not own this property. We do not own, as Mr. Fennell said, we don't own Belmont Hills. We don't own Jonquil Plaza. This governing body does not determine timetables for redevelopment. We don't determine who ends up owning property in the city. We can determine permitted use. We can determine density. We can determine what color brick and what color paint that's used in redevelopments based upon design districts and other development tools. We can determine what the doors look like or what kind of frame windows are used. But it's not within our, and I feel strongly that it's not within our authority to dictate which businesses can open within permitted uses. I don't have any problems with Del Taco. I have no problems with Krispy Kremes. I have no problems with the AutoZone. I don't love it. I don't like the idea of people changing batteries in the parking lot, but it is a permitted use. And I don't think that it's productive at this point in the game to argue about whether or not a permitted use should be allowed to go in. That's just my opinion. Garvis, you're a phenomenal attorney, and you have made a very compelling case tonight. And right now, you've made a very compelling case tonight. Right now, I am inclined to agree with the staff recommendation. And what I'm basing this upon is that if this were to be proposed at Jonquil, which is another gateway corner, and it is one where there have been several iterations of both owners and proposals, and I will say to that end, Columbia has shown themselves to be wonderful in terms of maintenance, in terms of how they believe in Smyrna. I think that they've done a really great job. And I don't think that anyone's going to open a business here if they don't think it's going to work. I trust the market, and the people who own these businesses, they know demographics, they do market research, they spend a lot of time and a lot of money determining what good sites are going to be. So I'm not going to debate those points because I don't think that that's fruitful at this point in time, and I don't think that there's a reason because they wouldn't open a business somewhere where they thought it was going to fail. It's a signature corner, and I think that if this were to be proposed for Jonquil, for example, and it would be very different from what's ever been approved for Jonquil, I would say, you know what, gentlemen, this is a phenomenal start. Let's talk some more about how we can make this more dynamic than just inline retail. And I get that what's there now, you look at the Publix across the street, look at the other centers, it's inline retail. But I think that if there is the opportunity for further realization of the potential of this corner, I think that we're obligated on our end here to have that discussion. So that's where I stand on this right now.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Mr. Sams, anything you want to?
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Lund?
I guess, Mr. Sams, would you like an opportunity to kind of sum up briefly your position on this?
Thought I'd kind of done that, but
But you haven't. I don't want another 20-minute.
no, I know, and I didn't mean to take an inordinate amount of time. I really believe this to be the case, and I'm passionate about this, as Mr. O'Neill is as well. I believe you're presented with a unique opportunity, not often given to a city in terms of how they want to see a gateway, as you've determined this to be, to proceed. And you've got that opportunity. How it presents itself is you can take the plan that exists and roll the dice on whether it sits there for another 5 years or not, or you can maintain the flexibility you have to still have that sense of being or sense of uniqueness with the remaining inline retail that we've got, the 15,000 square feet in the offices, but allowing a jump start with three proven, known national and international businesses. I just, there's no such thing as a no-brainer when you get into the zoning or the governance of the city of Smyrna. But to me, it's simply a non-starter to give short shrift to a proposal that is simply going to kickstart this property and the balance of it. And I got an email this afternoon, actually, as we were sitting here waiting for the meeting to begin, from the eye doctor, that they're remaining neutral, but they have no opposition to it. I know Jim and Nick's are very supportive of it. Those are the two most affected businesses as far as I can tell. Of course, Racetrack is supportive of it as well. Where it's substantial remove from the apartments in Westchester in terms of having any adverse impact. In fact, staff's analysis, I mean, just speaks eloquently to the fact that everything that we have proposed is not only appropriate, but that at the end of the day, that the staff analysis in terms of their recommendation for denial is couched totally in the fact that we're not giving you the cool plan that you saw back in 2008, 2009. And there's no apologies for that because, as Dan has said, and he's not one to brag on himself, but there's probably no other entity in the metropolitan Atlanta area, and maybe in this part of the Southeast, that has the contacts, that has the wherewithal and the ability to be able to pull together the deals. And I think he explained the dynamics better than I could in terms of how lenders look at this and the recalculation of the basis in these other places that you've seen that are leased up and full. And just looking at a storefront, you can't always tell the facts and circumstances. So if I were sitting up there, I would avail myself of this opportunity to give Columbia the go-ahead to do what I think is right for the city. And I'm sorry, I've overstepped my bounds in talking too long and answered your question probably in more ways than I should have. But
Yeah, your band's already gone home.
I understand.
Garvis, do you think that maybe we're sitting there talking about issues that if we didn't have the 3 tenants already lined up, would we be talking about it?
No, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Would we be talking about what?
I mean, you got 3 folks that are coming in there, and
they're ready to move now.
But I mean, do you think that hurt you?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Just want to make sure you were awake.
No. Just because I can't sing doesn't mean I'm not awake.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Bluestein.
Please.
Okay.
I have to look at this in different aspects, and even though Vinings has some very high dollar units being built or are selling at the present time, those same units overlook a Home Depot, a Publix. It's not like that they have a skyline view, but they don't. What's right around them is not the most impressive thing that you've ever seen. It's like if we roll the dice on this one, and sure, we might come up with a better plan, but at least if we go with what Mr. Sams has presented and Columbia Properties has presented, then we know that corner is going to be built because we've got plenty of empty space in Smyrna right now with things that just quite haven't worked out. So, I don't know. Right this minute, I'm kind of leaning towards voting for the project. So.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Pritchard.
I just want to say that, similar to everything everybody else has said, but we don't own the property. All these uses are permitted. Columbia has a great reputation. They've proven themselves. Real estate is a tricky thing, just like our economy is. And one of our council members mentioned Acres Mill. Well, I was over there yesterday, and Acres Mill at one time looked exactly like some of the strip shopping centers in Smyrna that are vacant black. Okay. Now at Acres Mill, they have some inline retail, and they have some outbuildings. They have some nice restaurants. Longhorn just relocated in with the Best Buy, or was it Circuit City? One of the two. And so it looks good. And Andrew's in real estate, I'm in real estate. We both know if you start a project, people will come and want to do things with it. And people say, oh, well, these are not the best top line restaurant stores. We're not going to get that until the economy comes back. So if we can start this and get it going, then there will be other things that will come down the pike. And it's like Andrew said, there's nothing to preclude a really good restaurant from coming in there just because there's an auto zone on the property. If a restaurant wants to be in a location and have a site to Atlanta, they'll be there. But you've got to start somewhere. And I am definitely in favor of this because I believe in owners' rights. I believe in business people have to make decisions that they know that they can support. As a business owner, you have all kind of responsibilities. We don't own that land. Is it better for the city of Smyrna for us to let it sit there for another 10 years, 5 years? Or is it better to start something? In my opinion, it's something that we should move forward with. So I'll be supporting it.
May I respond briefly? With respect to Acres Mill Square, I just recently resigned a Pollo Tropical, a Zoe's Kitchen, and now in the old Longhorns, a Corner Bakery Cafe has moved in there. With that activity, that brought to the back in the big box Golfsmith, which opened around the first of the year. So I don't know if you call it a halo effect or a precursor of things to come, but that's probably a fairly good example of out parcels generating what you needed to see with respect to the completion of the inline and generating other quality out parcels. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Mr. Fennell?
This might be the most challenging vote that we've cast as a new council, mainly because we haven't dealt with any zoning matters to speak of in the last couple of years, nor has the city in the last few years as a result of the economic change. I am still concerned about the traffic pattern more than anything else. I'm not sure I have an adequate explanation to my satisfaction of the egress at Gaylord. I know it's not the developer's sole responsibility. There's a DOT involved in others. But I'm challenged most by that issue alone. I even, despite the tenant mix proposed and the ones likely to come, notwithstanding, I think that's the biggest challenge for us. I live west of this site. So if I were to shop at this plaza, getting out of there to go west, Gaylord right now, we can operate differently with that traffic light. We can go from 3 cars through and then 10-minute wait like it currently is, 9 minutes. I did it this week. Or we can change that light frequency. It'll change the dynamic a little bit, but it's still inadequate to stage for westbound exit out of this site, and I think everybody recognizes the challenge that's there. I would really like the opportunity for us to be a bit more firm on our understanding of what we can ultimately do from that egress standpoint on the westbound side of this property. There's the opportunity mid-block just between the Del Taco proposed location and the racetrack where people are going out and making a left turn now, which is dangerous, not permitted, but they're doing it because going up and waiting 9 minutes at a light where you get 3 or 4 cars through the intersection is not working for people. It's just not working. That would be the only impediment. What I said about property rights, I adhere to. What I said about the investment that you folks have made in Smyrna and in this site, I admire and appreciate, and I want to support this. I really do. I do want us to have a better handle on this traffic challenge first. For my neighborhood alone, 955 homes in Vinings Estates, I'm going to answer to those folks. For Highlands Ridge, for Creekside at Vinings, for neighborhoods west who want to shop at the stores that'll ultimately locate on this site, and they will, else you wouldn't be building it there, I suspect, any of these locations. I'm challenged by that traffic issue more than anything else, and I want to support you. I want to support this project. I would like a little time for us to try to get a better handle on the DOT helping us with this site, however. To that end, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to table.
All right, we have a motion to table. Second. And a second. All those in favor of the motion, please vote.
Table to what day?
The next meeting, I hope. I mean, I don't know if, Yeah, my gosh, yeah, because you're talking about it's the first meeting in March.
I don't know, because I'm going to be out of town most of that time.
I would hope that what information we need, staff can get it or we can meet with, and I see Crow Engineering in the back. You know, maybe they can help coordinate whatever efforts that we need to.
May I ask, from a logistical standpoint, if Mr. O'Neill, I know he's visited this
Let's do
question
this.
before.
Let's do this. No. What we need to do is we need to get a date to table, and then we need to vote on that, and then we can discuss it after that. But
My motion is to table to the second meeting in March.
Be March 18th.
all those in favor, well, we got to, is that going to change anything? All those in favor vote for the 18th, and we already got 5 that voted. Yay, 6, 7. All right, it's tabled to the 18th of March. Now, just so y'all know, the way I understand it, if when you table something, there's no discussion. It's just table, boom. Now, if y'all want to discuss whatever, I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done from DOT standpoint, whether it's to increase the timing of the signal or whether or not it's. I know that came up at y'all's meeting right at the very end the last time with Dr. Wise. Ken, have you looked into that at all, just based on the concerns we had from the eye doctor and racetrack? No. Who sets the timing on that light? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. We've already tabled this to the 18th, so now we can discuss.
I just want to say that I did vote to table it because I think that with the city being pro-business and Columbia Properties being who they are, we can come to some kind of an agreement. It's not going to be everything that we want. It's not maybe going to be everything that you want. But we don't only need to discuss the traffic, and that's something that the county is going to control anyway, as long as we know that that's the issue. But I would like for us to look at some of the, just some of the smaller issues, like maybe extra landscaping and doing some different things. So I'm looking forward to a meeting that we would have with the council members that want to or can be there and Columbia Properties to address these issues. But I think it's important that we do 2 things. With Cobb County, they need to have their own meeting, and then they need to come to the one that we meet and tell us how they're going to fix the traffic, Ron. So that's my request, that we handle it like that.
Ms. Sams.
I was going to comment. It was, I won't say laborious. It was an interesting experience and discussions with Cobb DOT when we went through the gyrations to get the signal there, and in terms of the development agreement that we reached with Cobb County to do that. And I have to say Commissioner Ott was instrumental in that. And I say that just to set it up that it is in control of Cobb County. We will utilize the good services of the city engineer, Mr. Randall, but is Mr. Croy available as a consultant for the city to assist us in liaising with Cobb County?
Yeah, and I think we can do that. And I just want to make sure. It's tabled to the 18th. Nothing we can. It's tabled. Boom. I certainly don't want to lose any of those 3 folks that have committed to, to come to Smyrna. Krispy Kreme, I can hold off on.
Okay.
But I just, and we did it pretty quick. I agree that there is an issue there at that light with cars coming out. And if there's an issue, hopefully these will be good issues that we have. If we were talking about no traffic and no lights, then it'd be different. So we will coordinate something with the DOT and Bob Ott and Wade. I don't know exactly when you're going out of town. Is it this week? Is this weekend?
Yeah,
sometime.
We'll work that out. Mr. Sams, I support the motion to table because I know in discussion with other council members there were questions other than just the traffic that I'd like to have a chance for us to address. And I think it's better for us to have a conversation and try to work on some of these issues rather than vote it down. And it's not a change in zoning, so we're not bound by you've got to sit out for 1 year before you can bring it back to council kind of ordinance that we have. Right. It's a zoning amendment. I don't have a problem with any of the particular uses that have been discussed for this property. If I'd had a problem when we zoned the property originally, we would have excluded them like we did the others. Right. I think it's the devil's in the details, as we say. 9 separate variances included in the site plan is too many for me. I really want us to take a look and have a more detailed conversation, perhaps with Mr. O'Neill's potential clients, about building architecture and color, the materials to be used. There are very different styles on those buildings. Just picking 2 of them between the Krispy Kreme and the Del Taco. The sign variances, and we're getting ready to pass some amendments to our sign code, but I'm very uncomfortable with the sign variances that are included in this plan. Less the landscaping issues in terms of the landscaping the parking lot according to standards. Let's make sure we have a good conversation on all these things and see if there's a way for this council and Mr. O'Neill to reduce the variances and come up with a plan that's workable. And if not, then the council will have to vote as they see fit and best and let the chips fall. But I think it's better for us to take some time and have some more discussion and work on some of these details than to yay or nay, risk a nay, and then you don't know where you are and what to do. So I hope you understand. I'll be glad to certainly talk to you and Mr. O'Neill, as early as tomorrow.
Well, we always appreciate direction and the latitude and ability to be able to follow that direction. First calls I'm going to make are going to be to Cobb DOT and Mr. Croy. I usually can find him at Rocco's, which is his hangout in Cobb County, where I saw him today at lunch. But we appreciate the opportunity to do that. Look, it's one thing to say, we recommend denial and we want to deny it. It's another thing to say that, hey, we think this can work. We respect Columbia, and here's some direction we're giving you. We got direction on architecture, and so the masonry components of this is consistent with everything that's out there. I will say this, though, that the branding of these 3 national users, they're going to want their iconic branding to remain, even though the masonry components and the architecture can be very, very similar and consistent and have a uniformity to it. But the branding part is Krispy Kreme is who it is, and you recognize it the minute you see it. Which is just to say that we're not going to end up in a position where we look like some of the developments I've seen in Johns Creek, which are just so self-same that they're not only not cool, interesting, or unique, they're boring. So I don't think you want to see that. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item B under formal business. For item 5 is previous licenses. We have none. Item 6A is public hearing approval amendment to Chapter 82 of the City Code of Ordinances, sign code for temporary and electronic signs, City of Smyrna. This is ordinance 2013-03. Mr. Taylor, the background, please.
Mr. Mayor, a committee of local business owners was established to work with community development to recommend proposed changes and modifications to the city sign ordinance. Out of these meetings, the committee has recommended changes regarding the regulation of temporary signs such as banners, A-frame signs, inflatables, and feather signs. And the committee has also recommended changes regarding the regulation of electronic and LED signs. In particular, changes address the ability to have multiple messages, aesthetics, and safety requirements. These proposed changes have all been reviewed by the city attorney, and staff recommends approval.
Let's see here. It's Ms. Bluestein. It's her committee. I'm going to ask that, I guess you want Ken Sudrith up here. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. Mr. Sudrith? Mr. Sudrith.
I have a short presentation. Then we also had some people from the sign committee here as well. I
see the Citizen of the Year, Jay Wallace, is here from Venture Outdoor. If you have not been there, it is the most unbelievable place other than the Krispy Kreme that I've been to in a long time. Yeah, and Jay, we want to thank you for investing in Smyrna as you have for the last 40 years. And seriously, if you haven't been over there, I went over there with my wife a couple of weeks ago, and you could not even get in the parking lot. And I said, there must be somebody famous here, and it was just your typical Saturday. And they got tons of stuff. So Jay, thank you you got a beautiful building too. Thank you. And Jay has served on the sign committee along with some other business folks. So, Mr. Sudrith.
Yeah, I'll go through quickly in a little more detail than Mr. Taylor did, but then I would like to ask some of the members who have attended tonight. We are proposing to amend the existing sign ordinance. This is not a comprehensive review of the entire document from page 1 until the end. This deals with temporary signs, and then the committee expanded it to deal with electronic signs. As a function of that, we're dealing with definitions. We changed the application fees, not that we've changed the numbers, but we have brought it into compliance with how we do other ordinances, and that basically is we've moved it out of the ordinance onto our schedule of fees. There is a list of prohibited signs pertaining to temporary and electronic. All of the electrical signs have to meet the approved testing laboratory or agency, which in essence is a UL listing. This proposed changes also brings in additional wall signage on the back of out parcel buildings. If you recall, we had that discussion in one of our council work sessions. We felt like that change needed to go ahead and be part of this issue. And then we have some very specific requirements on temporary signs and electronic signs. With regard to temporary signs, there's really 4 areas: banner, feather signs, which are really the signs that you see come into play now, that have sort of a piece of nylon, more a teardrop shaped sign that may gradually move in the air. That's technically called a feather sign. Also A-frame signs and inflatable signs as well become temporary. The issue about the temporary, one of the reasons that we're even looking at this is we had through council primarily that the issue of temporary signs by our local businesses was of great concern. So this gives them an option. Right now they only have the ability to use a banner sign, but this adds 3 more possibilities. It also gives us as an enforcement arm not only the ability to permit these, but also to control them, because the proposal is that that these signs are good for 30 days, and you can have them 4 times in a calendar year. Now that could be 4 different months, it could be 4 consecutive months, they could be every other month, but you can have it no more than 4 30-day period. The electronic signs deal with wall signs as well as monument signs. We have not changed where they're currently allowed, but we have dealt with how they basically are operated. We deal with brightness settings, messaging aspects, which deals with rate of change, the transition between the message, the animation of the message. Oops. And that's basically it from a summary standpoint. The only thing that I would add to that is on the temporary signs, there's potentially one inconsistency that I missed on the final draft, and that is between the banner signs and the A-frame signs. The banner signs are allowed to have, you have 1 per street frontage, and if you're a corner lot, then you could have obviously 2 signs, 1 facing each way. The A-frame signs didn't have that last wording on it that dealt with per street frontage. So the question is, do you want to add that as part of your motion to make those two parts consistent? Having said that, since Jay's already been identified, I'd like to bring Jay up as well, and I'd like to bring Floyd up. Floyd Sims.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Jay Wallace is so big you can't see anybody behind him.
We actually have 2 of the 4 members.
And you own the McDonald's, right?
Yes.
I got a photographic memory, baby. And first time I met you was at a meeting at the Wolf Center when we talked with businesses about what we could do to help y'all.
Correct. Mr. Sims actually owns 2 McDonald's, if I'm not mistaken, here in Smyrna, although he owns more than 2 in the area. And of course, Jay, but they were gracious enough to serve on the committee, which, as we said in the report, we had 6 meetings over a 4-month period of time pulling all this together. They wanted to show their support, and if you just want to say a word or two, that'd be fine.
Just say whatever Ken told y'all to say.
All right, let me get my notes here. I hope I get it right. No, Mayor and Council, I just want to say to you, thank you for giving us the opportunity to have our input. I think you should be commended. I know a lot of times when people want to get up here and just tell you bad things, but you know something, you do a lot right. And that's one of the reasons that I stay here, and I want to continue to stay here, and I'll continue to have a business and invest in Smyrna. Once again, thank you very much, and it was a privilege to serve.
And as a new business owner, I would like to thank you as well for this opportunity, and I definitely support the changes that we've made, and I think it'll be better for Smyrna as well.
Thank y'all for taking y'all's time. This was another non-paying board that folks gave up of their time. I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do than hang out with Ken Sudworth in the evening. But thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Where'd everybody go? Hold on, we have a quorum, 1, 2, 3. Well, while I'm sure they've gone to the bathroom. This is a public hearing. I believe it's under public hearing. Yes. Is there anyone here that'd like to make any public comment other than the folks that just spoke? This is a change in the sign ordinance. I think temporary and electronic signs. Let the record show that there's no one here to speak. So, Ms. Bluestein.
Mayor, did you notice that Ms. Wilkinson wanted to speak?
No. Oh, that's right. This new electronic stuff. Hold on. Just a minute. I'll recognize you. Ms. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Bluestein.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, I couldn't tell if it was on. I want to thank Jay Wallace and Floyd Sims for serving on the committee, the sign committee, and I know there was another person, 2 other people as well, Jeff Kendricks, who is the owner of a sign company on Atlanta Road, and another person, Sean Murphy, that served on that committee. And I have read through the recommendations and the recommendations from the staff about the changes, and I have some concerns about those and how they affect particularly Ward 5 and the area South Cobb Drive, the northern part of the city, and Windy Hill. And one of the things, since I first came into office, there's been and when I was campaigning as well, there's been a lot of talk about South Cobb Drive and the businesses, helping the businesses on South Cobb Drive, but also the looks of South Cobb Drive and Windy Hill. And already, I think it's pretty obvious that there is a lot of visual clutter with the signs that exist in that area of South Cobb Drive and Windy Hill already. And I believe that these amendments, even though I think that we need some type of temporary sign amendment, I just feel like that the ones that were implemented with a 32 square foot allowance for the A-frame signs on South Cobb Drive would be adding a lot of more visual clutter to that area, as well as the the 9-foot that'll be allowed on Windy Hill. And I just feel like there are other ways that we as a city could help our businesses and draw people into the businesses besides more signs. And I would, ask if we've explored those other ways. And I also want to comment that there's some of the most successful businesses that we have in Smyrna actually have very little signage, and I just feel very strongly that there's other ways that we could help the businesses. And I also have a background in advertising and design and illustration, and I just still feel that that's very important, that it doesn't have to be the visual messages that are out while you're driving. I also feel like that adds to the danger there, and what I would like to see is more simplified designs, and that also being with the addresses, I think, need to be clearly put on the signs, more so than messages. And I think a lot of people are actually finding their places through Google and internet, and they're actually looking up their places and finding them with an address, and I think that is very important. Okay, so also I want to say that our current sign ordinance, as it exists today, is actually a lot more lenient than what other cities have that we align ourselves with, that are in the northern part of the Metro Atlanta area. And I also feel that adding more options is going to make it more difficult and require more staff time, more difficult to enforce. And let's see, this is already an issue in Ward 5, is the enforcing the sign ordinances and keeping that part of the city clean, so to speak. So anyway, so let's see. And I also understand that there's businesses along South Cobb Drive or off of South Cobb Drive that really feel that it's important for their businesses to be for them to have some type of signage to draw people in, because they're maybe off of Highland Parkway or Concord. But I just feel like there's, again, I'll say other ways. And let's see, what else? That I just feel, I'm going to say this again, adding more visual clutter to the part that we already have up there is not the answer. And let's see what else I wanted to say. I also feel that some of the residents should have been included on the committee. Some of the residents that live in that area, and I'm disappointed that they weren't. And I want to talk about the section of particularly a section of South Cobb Drive, because I think it's also compared a lot to Cobb Parkway, which is, they say, all commercial. And I think that I've heard this said several times that South Cobb Drive is also all commercial. But I want to mention that from one section in particular, from Church Road to Powder Springs Road, actually has 9 entrances to neighborhoods in that area, in that small little stretch. There's also 25 businesses in that area, and that's sort of an estimate that I was looking at, and maybe 5 of them are in this little shopping center over there, but most of them are freestanding businesses. So, if all of them are allowed this 30-foot, square-foot A-frame sign 4 months out of the year, I just feel that it's going to add a lot of clutter to that section. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Lennox, I'm sorry. I'm going to learn this new electronic stuff. Their names come up here. It says, Mr. Lennox.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just would request Ms. Bluestein in her motion consider amending section 8216. I think the subsection is 2E4, having to do with electronic signs. The current draft stipulates that signs may change their image, electronic signs, every 30 seconds. I'd ask if we could increase that to at least 60 seconds.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Fennell? I'm sorry. Okay, go, Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the citizens who took time to study this. I think in just preliminary polling, I think I'm the only member of council who's ever run a retail business, and so I understand how eyeballs are very valuable out on a passing thoroughfare to try to get into your business, and how important advertising is in that regard. And this isn't a perfect temporary sign ordinance, but it's a temporary sign ordinance that grants small businesses an opportunity to try to lure in customers for commerce. And if there's one thing we in Smyrna have been proud to brag about, is that we're a place where people can both live, work, and play, and small business is a really key component of who we are as a small town, and we want to make sure they succeed and thrive, and one of the ways we can help them is to make sure they can get customers in the door. So I'm going to support the ordinance, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments? Ms. Anulovich.
Thank you. I'm supporting this as well. This ordinance has been a long time coming. We have been working on, I say we, and we have in community relations and the committee. I mean, this has been going, we've been having conversations related to the sign ordinance, with specifically regarding the temporary sign ordinance, for years. I mean, at least easily 3 or 4 years. And I am inclined to support. I think it's time to move forward. That said, one of the perks of this legislative process that we have is that what we're approving tonight is not the Code of Hammurabi, and that we can always revisit this. We can always. I mean, it's true.
What was that word?
We get to amend things if down the road we see things aren't working, or things that we know can be improved upon, or things that we want to change. And I think it's important to remember that as we vote tonight.
I don't know what that word was she used, but it was not a word. Just let me say this. When we met with the businesses on South Cobb Drive at a more or less a little town hall meeting, the number one issue that came out of that meeting, what can we do to help your business? The number one thing was signage. And, these guys donated their time and efforts. I want to thank them again. But I will say this. We have a lot of signs out there that are illegal, that look terrible. And these are the ones that, what you call them, visual clutter. We need to do some major sweeps on some, once we enforce this, so folks will know, here's what you can do. You can have this. Oftentimes you have somebody pointing a finger saying, well, I didn't tell them they could put that sign up. A vendor put it up out there. And there lies the problem, I think, with a lot of the clutter. So with this in place, I think we got some clear guidelines. Here's what you can do. And again, I thank y'all for taking your time to do this. So, Ms. Bluestein.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I would like to move for the approval of Ordinance 2013-03, which is amendments to Chapter 82 of the City Code of Ordinances, which is the sign code for temporary and electronic signs.
And the electronic sign from...
Yeah.
That's the electronic signs from 30 seconds to a minute, is that correct? 60 seconds, or a minute.
Change.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 6-1. Ms. Wilkinson opposes. Item 6B under formal business.
Mayor, can I get just quick clarification? Do you want, did the motion include the A-frame per road frontage, or just leave the wording the way it was?
Do we have a 32 and 9?
Well, now that's there, but it has to do with corner lots. The way it's worded, you could only have the one sign on one road frontage. That was not put in Ms. Bluestein's motion. I didn't know if you really want that in the motion or not. I'm just asking for clarification. And if that's the way you want it, that's fine. That you understood that was included, that's fine. I wanted to make sure that I was getting that correct. If that's the way it is, we'll make those changes, and that'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
I also want to publicly thank the committee myself. I've done it individually, but yes, Sean Murphy was on there, and Sean's
a resident of the...
and Sean is sick tonight, or he would have been here. And Jeff Kendricks as well, who owns Commercial Signs.
Right.
But we had 4 people. They gave us a lot of time and staff, and I personally want to thank them publicly for doing that. Thanks.
Stop by the McDonald's and have a free hamburger tonight at 12 o'clock. Now, your folks, what time do y'all close? Let me tell you something. I was in that line, and I was so hungry. At 11:55, ordered 2 double cheeseburgers. Boom, they said, we're closed. You know how, no, I was okay. All right, item 6B under formal business, ordinance of approval of ordinance 2013-02 to amend section 22 to include article, is that 5.4? No, it's 9. Mobile food vendor to chapter 22, section 22-299, 22-300, 22-301, 22-302, 22-303. City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances. Mr. Taylor, the background, please.
Mr. Mayor, as we've all seen, mobile food vendors have proliferated in Smyrna over the last few years, in particular food trucks, as shown with the very successful Food Truck Tuesdays that we started last summer. After the food truck season ended, staff evaluated a number of issues, and in particular how to ensure that mobile food vendors operate within a set of regulations that do not detract from bricks and mortar restaurants. In response, staff has worked to create an ordinance that, among other items, addresses licensing requirements, location requirements, and operating requirements. This ordinance not only applies to food trucks, but it also applies to food trailers and push carts as well. The ordinance has been reviewed by the city attorney, and we do recommend approval.
Let's see, that's Ms. Anulowicz. Is that correct? Anulewicz. We got some names up here, folks. Go ahead.
That is me, and I have. I'm excited about this. I didn't know who would be coming forward to talk about this. If it would be Mr. Sedgwick or if Ms. Melton would like to come up and tell us a little bit more about the ordinance, or if we.
Where's Jessica? Oh, there she is. Yeah, I think Mr. Sedgwick's had plenty of stage time tonight.
I'm Jessica Melton. I'm the government fellow here with the City of Smyrna. And to kind of hit the highlights of the mobile food vendor ordinance, it requires mobile food vendors to have different pieces of information than a typical business license. You have to have your name of the mobile food vendor, make and model and license plate of the vending unit, the owner's contact information, operator's contact information, type of vendor, whether it's a street vending unit or a sidewalk vending unit, copy of approved permit from the Cobb County Health Department or the Georgia Department of Agriculture, signatures from property owners indicating consent to use the property, as well as the signature of the applicant indicating agreement to the listed requirements. There are other portions of the ordinance that require food trucks to have particular elements of liability. They have to have at least $100 or $1 million of liability insurance. Any driver of a motor vehicle that sells food must have a valid Georgia driver's license. The times for sale are limited between 10 p.m. between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. There are also some regulations that specify structural requirements of motor vehicles, such as security equipment that has to be on each food truck or mobile food vending unit. Mobile food vendors may not sell alcoholic beverages. They may only sell non-alcoholic beverages and food items. The signage must adhere to the mobile food vending unit and may not protrude out in any ways. And also, one of the more important stipulations to protect the brick and mortar restaurants is that the mobile food vendors may not operate any less than 200 feet from any building, housing, and establishment with a licensed eating and drinking. The distance will be measured from the serving window in a straight line to the property line of the nearest bricks and mortar establishment. If a food truck operates less than 200 feet from any building, established housing, and established licensed eating and drinking establishment, they must have expressed and signed consent from all affected establishments. And drive-thrus are not permitted with the use of any mobile food vending unit. Does anyone have any questions?
What are you doing? Who? She didn't call. She pushed the button. Terry Nullowich. Miss Nullowich.
Well, I would like to thank Jessica for all of the hard work that she put into this. It was beyond hours of work. It's been a big project that you took on, and we really appreciate all the thoughtfulness that you put into this. I think the Food Truck Tuesdays has proven to be one of the most successful and popular events that we've had in the city in a while. And when it began last summer, we never could have predicted how successful the event would be. And, you know, as with anything new, you have kinks. And I'm so pleased with how so many different city departments worked together to get through all of the hiccups that we were presented with as the event grew and grew and grew in popularity. I think it's a great amenity for our residents, and I think it's a positive experience for the community, and I think that we're also working hard to make sure that it's a positive experience for everyone who lives in the immediate vicinity of Bronner Park, because that's an important consideration as well. And I'm very happy that we're formalizing our ordinance as it relates to mobile food vendors, which includes, you know, food trucks and push carts and ice cream trucks and everyone else. And I'm thankful again for the collaboration between staff and elected officials as we have worked through this process over the past several months. So I don't know if there are any other questions, but at this time I would like to move to approve agenda item 6B, which is approval of ordinance 2013-02 to amend section 22 to include article 9, mobile food vendor, to chapter 22, section 22-229, 22-300, 22-301, 22-302, and 22-303 of the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances.
We have motion second to approve this ordinance. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Ron Fennell and Wade Lineker.
You will recall last year when we brought this ordinance up the first time, I voted no, and the mayor had to break a tie. I raised 3 questions, and this ordinance addresses all 3 of those questions and a couple of others that we experienced by going through the process. To that end, I thank Jessica for your hard work. I thank the team of people in Smyrna that helped us gain the experience necessary. But by virtue of us punching the ticket, those items I had addressed in my reason for voting no. I love food trucks. I support food trucks. I did then. But I raised these issues, and now we have an ordinance that matched the concerns I raised at that time. So I am supportive today of this ordinance.
Mr. Lineker.
Thank you. I agree. We've come a long ways with this ordinance, and I appreciate Ms. Melton working on this for us. I just want to make sure of one thing that I've asked about, and I just want to make sure we're covered, that by adopting this ordinance, we're not going to shut down food vendors in the Village Green area in front of City Hall during our festivals or Taste of Smyrna because they're within 200 feet of a restaurant or an establishment selling food or beverages. I know we can establish red zones where those kinds of mobile food vendors are not permitted, but how do we establish a green zone for the Market Village for our festivals?
Well, in relation to the red zones, just to read the definition to inform everyone else what the red zone is. Red zones are zones that mobile food vendors are not permitted to do business. Red zones may be established by a majority vote of mayor and council. So in order to establish a red zone in the Market Village area, you guys would have to vote on that. As far as establishing a green zone, there's nothing in the ordinance that reads about a proactive area for food trucks. but as long as there's signed consent by everyone in Market Village, or unless it's a city-sponsored event where we bring those mobile food vendors in to cater the event, then that would be an exception.
Can I add to that as well? The ordinance says that there's a 200-foot requirement. 200 feet is not very far at all. You know, our festivals typically have these food vendors lined up and down King Street, well outside the 200-foot barrier. If we were to have mobile food vendors inside the 200-feet area, then all that would do is require signed consent of the affected establishments within that 200-foot ring. And you know, in talking with the restaurants and other businesses here in the downtown, I would venture to guess that they would all be supportive. Otherwise, you just move it outside the 200 feet.
And understand all that. Here's my concern, and if we read the ordinance, it says, and I support the ordinance, but must maintain a minimum distance 200 feet from any building housing an established licensed eating and drinking establishment. That would include Quiznos, that would include the wine shop. If for any reason they decide no, then they can shut down our city-sponsored festivals, Taste of Smyrna, any other event, by saying, no, we don't agree to it. I don't think that's what they're likely to do at this point, but we also impose an additional staff burden of having to go get the approval of all these kinds of establishments every time we want to do a festival. I'm just concerned that at some point, and maybe we come back and amend this, that we address festivals in the Market Village to ensure that they're not held hostage to an established vendor when we've been doing these festivals ever since we opened the Village Green in 1991.
You know, Wade, I think typically that the businesses benefit from us having the festivals, but there has been times when there was right outside of the wine cellar, there was a food vendor there. So if we need to increase that,
I don't know if we need to increase it. I think either we establish a green zone for, you know, the Village Green area, City Hall, King Street frontage, or, you know, the Market Village, or we say that 200-foot distance requirement doesn't apply in that area. I'm not the attorney here, but I just want to find a way where, without imposing a lot of burden on our staff, to go back each and every month, every time we have a festival, go back and have all these businesses sign, and then the owner's on vacation, or he or she's out sick and they can't get hold of them, so they can't get the signature.
Jessica?
Keep it simple.
Jessica?
One thing that I am assuming we could add to the ordinance would be a clause about city-sponsored events.
Right.
That any mobile food vendor invited to a city-sponsored event would be acceptable to, as a variance to that 200 feet, so we would be able to house them in that event.
You know, I think there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and whatever the best way is that you propose, I'll support. But I think maybe we need to come back and add an amendment to that for that purpose. That's my suggestion.
Well, should we go ahead and add the amendment now? And
I don't know if our attorney can draft in 30 seconds the legal language and appropriate section to do that. But if he can, I'm certainly willing to challenge Mr. Tucker and rely upon his advice.
He seems to be writing pretty quickly.
Harry Potter will get this done.
Depending on what he writes, I'll be happy to move to amend the ordinance to incorporate his language so we can get it done tonight.
Jeffrey?
Again, I just don't want to have the city-sponsored events in the Village Green, Market Village area that we've been doing for 20-plus years. Now we're shut down because we don't have approval from somebody.
You know what, and what worries me a lot is when we adopt the ordinance that either we can't enforce or we don't enforce, or, you know, got great language, but, and a good example is the digital sign. I mean, I don't know how long those things stay open. I mean, 30 seconds, a minute. Jeffrey, what are you doing?
And we want to thank Mr. Jeffrey Tucker for filling in for Scott Cochran for our meeting this evening. He thought he was getting an easy meeting, and excellent. You know, we could have made you get up with the spiritual airs and sing
Yeah, I
for your
wish they were
supper, so
here.
to speak. While he's writing, I'll just mention, you know, this is the third time I've heard the spiritual airs, and they're a fantastic group formed originally here in Smyrna, with Smyrna residents.
Oh, that little one, he's precious.
They are fantastic representatives of our city. And, you know, listening to their music, you know, we're celebrating Black History Month this month, but I'm reminded that Black history is our history. It's American history. Our histories are interconnected, intertwined, irretrievably, which is good. The American multicultural system that we have is an example that the rest of the world needs to follow.
Jeffrey, can you hurry up? Mr. Lineker is going to make me cry.
There's not a TARDIS in the corner, sir.
Mr. Tucker has suggested that we amend the 200-foot distance, paragraph Q, by adding at the end, this provision should not apply to mobile food trucks operating by invitation of the city during city-sponsored or city-approved events in the Smyrna Market Village, and I would add on there, or Village Green area.
I second that.
So I would move
It
to...
actually needs to say mobile food vendors, not mobile food trucks.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and Mr. Lineker has got an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, I'm going to move to adopt the amended language Mr. Tucker is pinning.
Okay.
And when he's finished, I'll ask him to read it out loud one more time.
And Mr. Fennell seconded your amended motion.
And Samantha, I don't see on here how to, on the electronic system, amend the motion.
You know, they can figure that out. All right, we're going to vote on the amendment first. Mr. Tucker, we don't need anything else from you, do we?
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to read?
Please just read it one more time for us.
All right. At the end of item Q, after the words bricks and mortar food establishment, period, will be the following sentence. This provision shall not apply to mobile food vendors operating by invitation of the city during city-sponsored or city-approved events in the Smyrna Market Village or Village Green, period.
All right, that's the amendment. We got a motion second. All those in favor of the amendment, please vote. All right, it's 7-0 now. We're going to vote on the main motion. We have a motion and a second. A motion by Terry Nulowich, seconded by Melanie Pritchett. All those in favor of that motion, please vote. Okay, all right, all those. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Wade. All right, let's go on down to item C. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Yep. Item C, appointment of Civil Service Board clerk. I'm going to turn that right over to Mr. Wade Lineker. He can explain that and make that appointment.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a new HR manager who's been with the city a short time, Ms. Rachel Ballard. Traditionally, the HR manager, the number 2 person in the department, has been appointed as the clerk to the Civil Service Board. The Civil Service Board is made up of 3 citizens, one appointed by mayor and council, one appointed by the employees of the fire and police department, and a 3rd citizen who is appointed by the other 2. And they serve to review disciplinary and adverse action appeals in the public safety departments by the covered employees. The clerk keeps their minutes, notifies the members when there's meetings, serves as a liaison between the city and the citizen members of the board, make sure they have a room to meet in, performs a lot of functions related to that. And so it's important now that Ms. Ballard has been on board that we officially appoint her. And I'm going to move that we appoint Ms. Rachel Ballard, the HR manager, effective immediately, to be the clerk of the Civil Service Board.
Have motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. Approved 7-0. We already took care of D, which is accept the donation of the Healing Garden for Taylor Bronner Park from the estate of Sharon Darby. Item E is adopt a resolution approving the renaming of a portion of the east-west connector to Silver Comet Parkway. I'm going to turn that straight over to Mr. Fennell, and don't anybody panic now. This is only a resolution.
This is the first step, Mr. Mayor, in a process that will take us through 4 or 5 steps. The portion of the east-west connector, it's a nondescript descriptor that was put on a map for the building out of a perimeter road. And what we're talking about doing is naming the road from Atlanta Road intersection, where it's to the right as you come north on Atlanta Road, it becomes Cumberland Parkway, and you turn left, it becomes the east-west connector. We're talking about starting the naming there and going all the way out to Powder Springs, which is where it becomes, from then on, it becomes Ernest Barrett Parkway, as I understand it. So that section that currently does not have a name, that's just simply called the descriptor east-west connector, would get a new moniker, the Silver Comet Parkway, paying tribute to the fact that the city of Smyrna is the origin of the trailhead of the Silver Comet, and I've crafted a resolution accordingly. Whereas CSX Railroad abandoned their old line carrying the legendary Silver Comet passenger train line through the region in 1989, and subsequently that the Georgia Department of Transportation purchased a 37-mile stretch of railway in Cobb, Polk, and Paulding counties, expressly for the purpose of creating a public trail system for pedestrians and bikers, and whereas the city of Smyrna is highly supportive of this superb example of repurposing of abandoned rail lines, and whereas the Silver Comet Trail construction began in the city of Smyrna, opening in 1998, delighting enthusiasts and cyclists, runners, and pedestrians everywhere, and whereas the city of Smyrna is proud to serve as the trailhead and origination point for the renowned Silver Comet Trail, which remains the most popular segment of the trail, and whereas the adjacent roadway bears a proper, descriptive, yet uninspiring name, East-West Connector, we, the citizens of Smyrna and Cobb County, prefer to add appropriate historical local flavor to this busy gateway road into Smyrna. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Smyrna City Council formally requests the Cobb Board of Commissioners to join Smyrna in urging the Cobb County Commission to proceed with necessary steps for formal adoption of a renaming of that portion of State Road 278 between Atlanta Road and Powder Springs Road, currently better known simply as the East-West Connector, to be hereinafter named, labeled, and known as the Silver Comet Parkway. That's my motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Motion seconded by Mr. Lineker. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 7-0. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is consent agenda. Mr. Taylor, will you read the consent agenda for council's approval?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. We have 6 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item A is an approval of the February 4th, 2013 Mayor and Council meeting minutes. Item B is an approval of the agreement with the Carl Vinson Institute of Government to conduct an independent assessment of police personnel and authorize the mayor to sign and execute the contract. Item C is an approval of intergovernmental agreement for the title ad valorem tax between the city and Cobb County and authorize the mayor to sign any related documents. Item D is approve the submission of the local maintenance and improvement grant application in the amount of $289,620.44 for eligible transportation projects and authorize the mayor to execute any associated documents. Item E is the approval to use the council chambers on February 24, 2013 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the annual Creekwood at Bindings Homeowner Association meeting. And item F is the approval to use the council chambers on March 7, 2013 from 7 to 9 p.m. for a meeting to be hosted by the Williams Park neighborhood.
Hear a motion, we approve the consent agenda. Have a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. What happened? We're faster than computers. That's approved 7-0. Item 9 is committee reports. Tonight we'll start with Ms. Melanie Pritchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. just have a brief report. Our Granica system is operational, but we are not releasing the live streaming video. We plan on doing that on March the 18th, and we'll do a trial run on the 4th. They're also working on some testing tonight as we're having our meeting. When all this is in place and we release it, Jennifer will go and put it out on social media feeds and post it on all the city websites, including various paths to get there. So the big day for us will be March the 18th to go live streaming so people can watch our council meetings. And with that, I yield, Mr. Mayor.
Miss Andrea Bluestein. Please.
I guess I could say business is good. And I could leave. And the reality is, it is. The numbers are still continuing, as I've talked about in the past. Just to, in the 6+ weeks of this year, we've issued 32 new home permits. We're still continuing the trend. Just, again, we finished last year with 203 new permits. If you want to just look at fiscal years, fiscal 12, we issued 136. This year, already in the middle of February, we've issued 133. So again, no matter how we look at it, how we cut it, how we splice it, we are well above where we have been in past years. So things are continuing to improve.
Thank you.
Ms. Terry Nulovich.
Yes, I would like to invite Tony Jo Howard to come forward to give a report on finance. And while she is coming forward, I will also note that there is no community relations report tonight.
I will be super quick since this meeting's long. I just wanted to let everybody know that the fiscal year 14 budget process is now underway. Yay! So finance is excited. That will definitely be consuming our time. It is another great instance of us being able to continue to integrate with the Munis software package, as the budget will actually sit within our financials module in Munis, which helps with reporting and keeping up with the next year. So we're definitely excited about that. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I noted earlier, in addition to the city-sponsored events that will be taking place for Black History Month at the Smyrna Library this weekend, there's also going to be a Black History celebration on Sunday evening, Saturday evening, the 23rd, at 7 p.m. at Campbell Middle School, and I will be putting information out about that on my Facebook feed, which is facebook.com/TerryWard3. The Brown Elementary School is having an event on Sunday, March the 3rd, from 2 o'clock p.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. It will be at Brown Elementary School, and the purpose of the event is to celebrate Brown through the years, those years being 1955 to 2013. And everyone is invited to join in that celebration. On Thursday, March 7th, there will be an informational meeting here at City Hall from 7 to 9 p.m. And the purpose of this meeting will be to meet with Smyrna Elementary School Principal Brett Ward, who is coming to the new elementary school from Brown Elementary School, to meet his staff and to learn more about Smyrna Elementary School and to have any questions answered that you might have about the new school. And that, again, is going to be on Thursday, March 7th, here at City Hall from 7 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call on Ann Kirk first, and somebody can wake Scott Stokes up while she's coming up.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank the Tree Board for working with us this weekend for a fabulous Smyrna Arbor Day Festival. This was our first event together. I look forward to many, many more of these. We had over 70 people attending, 2 great speakers, very entertaining, and lots of activities, lots of little kids. So I look forward to working with the Tree Board again on this event next year. I also forgot to mention Virginia Davis, who is my assistant director, and her contributions to our success and our awards in the last year. She has been out of town with a family illness, and I just couldn't do it without her, and I wanted to let everybody know that. So, also the shredding event on March the 16th, and we will be taking gently worn shoes. So if you've got a closet full of out of style or otherwise unwearable shoes that don't fit, or why did you buy those, bring them to us when you come for the shredding event. All the other locations in Cobb will be collecting these. We will give suitable shoes to Must Ministries, the ones that they want to take, and then the others will go to a recycling company. So we have a home for your otherwise unwearable shoes.
You know, they will come back in style.
Eventually.
Yes.
But I may not live that long, so I want to get mine out of my closet. It includes everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I would like to make a brief comment on the program Saturday for Arbor Day. And the tree board lined up two great speakers. The first was informative, and the second was just entertaining. So next year, if we have this event again, I'd like to invite everybody to come. With that, I'd like to call on Mr. Scott Stokes, Public Works.
Scott, make sure you talk to Carmen Wright tomorrow. I just thought about that. Scott.
I'll write that down.
C-A.
I got that. If I can see you, Mr. Mayor, after the meeting, if you don't mind.
Okay. Hey. No problem, pork chop. Come on. I'm tired.
Everybody's tired.
Here's some public works updates. Belmont Connector, SPLOST project, still underway and still ahead of schedule. I invite everybody to try out the roundabout. If you haven't so far, give it a try on Ward Street. It's not finished, but it's operable, and please pay attention to the signs, because apparently that's we're going to have issues because folks just don't understand how to go around in a circle.
I know.
I experienced it, and even our consulting engineers have experienced it. It's Concord Road widening. That's again underway. The utility relocations are still happening out there. Until those get done, we cannot start on that project. Belmont Sewer Lift Station. That project's finished. Just waiting on some training, but we've got a brand new lift station, state of the art. We can control it from inside the office if we have to. They'll contact us on our cell phones if things go wrong. So we've got a state-of-the-art station out there now. Belmont Sewer Outfall Replacement. Right now we expect that to start probably mid-March, end of March. We finally got our permits from the Corps of Engineers. They're going to make us pay about $19,000 in some wetland credits and some stream mitigation credits, but so Smyrna's going to own some property somewhere in North Georgia one of these days. Water main replacement on Cimarron Court, it's about 80% complete. Water main replacement on Comanche Court's about 90% complete. We've got contractors currently working on some water main replacement on Dogwood Circle, and then from there he's going to move to a short piece on Ashwood Drive. We've currently have a storm sewer project underway on Terry Myers Drive. It's about 50% complete. Next council meeting we'll have some bid awards for a storm sewer project over on Campbell Road. This week we had a Reed Road SPLOST storm sewer replacement project pre-bid meeting with the contractors. A bid opening will be the end of the month, and with hopefully bid award by the middle of next month. And that again, that's a SPLOST project. Right now we're collecting some easements for Concord Road at North Cooper Lake. I think you're familiar with that one, Mr. Mayor. You asked about it a long time ago.
Which one was that now?
Concord at North Cooper Lake.
Oh, yes, yes.
So we're obtaining bids on that project. Atlanta Road sidewalks, we did some repairs out there. That's complete. Got landscaping to do. We also did some repairs to sidewalks on Hawthorne Avenue down around Davenport Town. Also on Davenport Street. We're on Argo Drive doing some sidewalk repairs. And crews are also working in that entire neighborhood to do repairs to sidewalks. We submitted a purchase order for striping, especially over in Ward 7. We had some needs on some striping, about $30,000 worth of striping work that's hopefully going to start tomorrow, but looks like the weather might cause a problem. And then tomorrow we're going to start the biodiesel processor up again, and hopefully we've got about enough material to make about 250 gallons. So we've already been through 350 gallons of biodiesel, and we're going to start it up again tomorrow and make about 250 gallons.
So we are using the fuel,
We are using the fuel. Got one truck.
and everything's going smooth.
It's going perfect.
Scott, a couple of weeks ago, myself and Eric Taylor and some folks from your department up in the Village Green walking around, there was a grease pit, I guess, up there. Yeah. Did we ever contact those folks to see if we could? I mean, they're just taking their grease out there. It seemed like we could.
Process. We've got to. We can't take grease. It has to be oil. So we've got to get the businesses to separate that for us. So we haven't figured out how yet we want to do that. And we probably, I mean, just to get it, we may say give them separate containers, one for grease, one for oil, but we're working on that process.
Are we getting any from the residents?
We've getting plenty from the residents. Really? The recycling center is our biggest customer.
Good job.
And again, Smyrna Hospital and IBM are giving us all their oil.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Scott, just one quick question. Do we have any projects that are pending that need to be bid out?
I always have project pending, yes.
Okay, just I'll see you after the meeting.
Okay.
Good.
Finally, I'd like to thank our fine police department and Chief David Lee for something happened in Ward 4 this past week. They responded to a domestic issue and ended up finding a marijuana grow house and in Concord Road in Ward 4. And I'd like to thank you for taking care of that for us and doing the job that y'all are doing. Thank you. With that, Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to thank Tammy Jones for giving the library report during the Black History Month at the beginning. And I also want to let everyone know that our new library director, Mary Wallace Moore, will be starting a week from today on February the 25th. And we're all looking forward to having her join us. And I'd like to call Steve Ciaccio to give us a report about the Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
How are you? We had a very nice bridal show this past Sunday at Bronner Hall, the community center, and Taylor Bronner House. Had about 70 folks there. First annual Smyrna Bridal Show. Fashion show followed over at the community center. It was really nice. A lot of vendors. We really got to strut our stuff and try to sell the place for future brides and grooms to, have their big day at our facilities. A SPLOST-funded interior demolition of the Tolleson Bathhouse started today. Should see some painting and roof demo probably in the next week or two, so I want to let folks know that we're fixing that up and we'll be looking really sharp this upcoming spring. Registration for various specialty camps and summer camp for children will be online this week. SmyrnaCity.com, and go to Parks and Recreation for that information. So I realize it's only February, but when your kids are out of school and you start looking for summer camps, it's already too late. So take part now. SmyrnaCity.com, Parks and Recreation. Youth baseball and soccer started this week. There's about 2,000 kids that play in baseball and soccer in our community, and like a lot of other folks this evening that talked about the benefit of volunteerism, if it weren't for those boards and those coaches and those managers, there'd be 2,000 kids that'd probably be home watching video games. So we are very, very happy that they do that stellar work for us, and that is it for my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. With that, I yield.
Mr. Wade Lineker.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're We're going to have a meeting this Sunday with Creekwood and Vinings neighborhood, hosting their annual meeting as I've done pretty much every year since I've been in office. Looking forward to seeing those folks. I appreciate the great work staff did tonight on a number of issues that we moved forward on. I want to thank them for that. I also want to pay note and respects to the family of Harry Ingram, former Smyrna council member, served 2 terms, 4 years, back a number of years ago, passed away February 8th. He was a great leader in Cobb County, did a lot to make possible the things that we enjoy today, whether it's the water and sewer system that the county built over those years, or a service on the council that laid the groundwork for what Smyrna has become today. He was involved in a lot of things in the community, and we mourn his passing. With that, I yield.
And just before I recognize Councilman Fennell, Harry Ingram was a very dedicated person for the county, but he was always very proud to say that he had been on the council in Smyrna. Yeah. Mr. Ron Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll call on Chief Lanyon to give an annual report from the fire department. As he's coming forward, I wanted to congratulate the Dunkin' Donuts on South Cobb Drive, Ward 7 resident Steve Silva, who lives in the Vinings Estates community. He owns that property, opening that business up, and he has about 40 employees. Congratulations. Fire Chief Jason Lanyon.
Somebody left up the got 40 thing. There we go.
He's still looking.
What are you looking for?
I got something in here for you.
He's got something to show us. There's 2 other things I'll mention while he's fumbling around for that. Leadership Cobb was in Smyrna last week. We some of us had the privilege. Mr. Taylor, Ms. Nulowitz, and I had the privilege. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to make it by, but they spent some time at our facilities. And thank you again for hosting them at Taylor Bronner Complex. It was great to have them in town. And by the way, the state of Georgia celebrated a birthday this past week, 1733 to now 2013. We're going into our 281st year. Happy birthday, Georgia. Chief Jason Lanyon.
Before I get started, Councilman Lineker, the HR director would like to come up after I'm done.
Yes.
She's standing back there.
My mistake. I failed to recognize Ms. Kay Bullock, our HR director.
Yeah, Mr. Lineker would like to see you after the meeting. Mr.
Sure you would. Okay, I have, and I didn't pick this night. This is by rules, but tonight is the night where I have the annual report from the fire department, and I trust you all have a copy in front of you. And I'm just going to run through a real quick slideshow and hit the highlights real quick. 14 slides. The first part is the total incidents for 2012 were 4,942, and the breakdown is of different types of calls. The trend seems to be very much the same as previous years. Of those 42 calls, 146 fire calls. Again, the vast majority, 2,952 medical calls, and then 1,844 other calls for service. The average response time actually decreased slightly to 3 minutes and 33 seconds. There was 1 fire fatality in 2012. Hold on, I'm way behind. You can tell I don't do this on a regular basis. There's the first thing I told you, the second thing I told you, and the third thing I told you. All right, we'll get to that one. That's why I brought the training officer to run this, but he didn't want to run the slideshow. Okay, so to speak to the response time, 3 minutes and 33 seconds, it's down a little bit. I can't say why, although I tend to believe, and I've said this before, I believe we do better than what we're reporting. I believe that we need to be better at reporting, and we are focusing on that, and we have been focusing on that, the collection of data and the correct information getting in the computer so that we can really tell what we've done. The fire fatality, I have to speak to that because I'm sure everyone up here realizes that I did not call you this year or during 2012 and tell you there was a fire fatality. All of you would have been notified had that happened in a normal way. What actually happened was there was an accident at somebody's house who was on oxygen. They ended up catching on fire and being taken to the hospital by a private citizen, and then that person died. So by the state rules, we get charged with a fire fatality. We were never called to that scene, never responded to that scene. So that's just the way that happened this year. The training division is my next slide. And in keeping with years past, we changed the focus of the training division just a few years ago and asked them to try to bring more training in-house instead of the expense of sending the firefighters out of town. And that trend continued in 2012 with several structured classes that were held in the city and coordinated by the training division. A few of those, of course, CPR. Advanced medical life support, we ended up with more than 15 people certified in that. Structural fire control, we do that every year. Introduction to technical rescue, that's quite a large undertaking. Several departments join us for that. That is the class that gets you ready to learn how to be a master at doing rope rescue, vehicle rescue, those type of things. We did a pretty large drill this year with the Atlanta Gaslight crew, and it was down on Atlanta Road in front of Campbell Middle. Some of you will remember that. That went off really well. I'm really happy with the pumping apparatus driver operator class. That's a national class, and out of that, more than 15 of our people were nationally certified, have national certification now, and when that was actually taught at Fire Station 1, and that's quite an undertaking too. Medical certifications, these are the numbers as they stand today. Right now we have 63 of our 74 people are paramedics, puts it at 85%, and 11 EMTs on staff. The Bureau of Fire Prevention, in 2012, the numbers remained pretty close to the year before. They reviewed 151 sets of plans, completed 63 CO, certificates of occupancies. There were 27 different fire investigations, and when I say fire investigations, I mean investigations that are for the origin and cause as well as criminal acts. Not all of them are criminal acts. Of those, there were 3 arrests, 1 fire fatality, which I mentioned before, and then 3,773 different fire safety education contacts. These contacts are made up of different visits to churches, the community events we have, and when some people come and visit the fire department, all that type of community outreach. Okay, the last 2 things I have are Fire Station 5 and the Fire Medic program. Those are the 2 biggest things that happened in the fire department this year. So I'll start with Fire Station 5. There's a picture of it. We opened that fire station on September 25th at 750 Cooper Lake Road. It was approximately a $1.7 million project, $1.4 million coming from the feds, and the rest coming from the general fund. Now, I really had hoped to be able to come up here and tell you that this is a LEED project, and we should have our LEED certification. However, we do not. I was told it would be back on February 4th. At last check, right before we came in here, we still have not heard back. The architects don't have that answer. So,
I mean, I don't get it. That was part of the grant.
Yeah, I understand. But the way it works is, at the end of the project, the builders and the architects submit all of the submittals to the LEED committee, and then they get back to us and tell us what it is when it's over. We are confident that it'll be a silver. We're hoping for better than that, but we haven't had the we haven't got the final results.
We're going to get some kind of LEED.
Oh, it'll absolutely be LEED certified. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
The second large project this year was the Fire Medic program, and there you see a picture of them. You hear me talk about them all the time, but there's a picture actually on the screen of the Ford Explorers. These Ford Explorers are equipped with all the equipment you need to carry on advanced life saving, and we're responding to. I've got a slide that shows you. Throughout the entire year, we're only showing you 2 of them here. We're showing you FM3 and FM4 because those are the only ones. We started this early in the year as a pilot project, and only 2 of them were there for the entire year. And you see that, respectively, 72 and 75% of the calls are being answered with these smaller vehicles, which are obviously a lot less money to fuel and maintain. I believe this is going to end up being a huge savings over the years. Now, we do have more than 2 of them in service. It's just those were the only 2 that were in service for the whole year. This is the numbers that we have in January for the 4 that are in service. A few of them are running 85% of the calls. So, I mean, there's a huge difference.
I'll say this, Jason. I know you were a little apprehensive about this initially. I think what we did, and this is for the new council members, we implemented this program. It was to do two things. It was to, well, actually three things. One was to have a quicker response time. Second was to save gas, and the third one was really to save our big engines from having to go out so much. But I know that when we had a meeting at Bronner Hall about Concord Road, one of the reasons, and which I think was good for the residents to know, that the response time to Lee and Dunn Street is not going to be impacted because we have these vehicles like this. If we had an engine or a ladder, we'd be in trouble, I think, by the medians that are going to be there. But these are quick response vehicles, boom, and they get there quick, and that's what it's all about.
I think the immediate savings is definitely the fuel and maintenance. The long-term money, the long-term savings on this will be probably even after I'm retired. When we buy the next set of engines, if we're getting 15 years out of an engine that costs $500,000, and then you only run them 15% of the time, those engines will probably be replaced because of technology being outdated for technology rather than having the wheels worn off of them. So if you double the life of an engine, the amount of money you invest in fire engines drops significantly. This will be a long-term savings for the citizens. There's no doubt in my mind.
And you know what I mean? I mean, I'm with us, the biodiesel deal that we're doing, and with these things, and we are trying to really watch the taxpayers' money. And I mean, I filled up my truck today. It was $99 and a nickel. And we need to remind our employees every day that, you know, they need to be as thrifty as they can and save as much fuel as possible.
Any particular questions about the annual report? If not,
we ain't got it yet. We ain't got it yet. We're close, all right?
Yeah, we will have one. The last thing I had, and he took the slide off. Could you put the slide back up? The last thing I have is I wanted to point out for the city council, this might be hard to see on your monitor, I don't know, but I wanted to publicly thank Paris Blaylock and Barrows Wrecker, and also Public Works. A week ago on Monday, I don't know if you remember this, but it rained from the time it got light till midnight. I mean, it was a washout. And the folks from training already had this set up, so we had to go through with it. But Barrow Wrecker donated 6 vehicles to us, and they brought out their huge wrecker, which I can't imagine what it costs to run that thing, and donated the time of the operator and set up these vehicles in these crash situations so the firefighters could train on stabilizing these vehicles and getting people out of them. And again, many thanks to Barrow Wrecker, Paris Blaylock, and Public Works, who I think actually had fun. I don't know if Scott knows this, but they were taking their big front end loader and flipping cars over for us. It was, I don't know if Scott knows that. I guess he knows now. But anyway, again, thank you for that.
Thank you. Great report, Chief. In deference, Chief Lee, if you don't mind, we skipped over Ms. Bolick. If we could allow her to come in first, since you're the new guy. And
yeah, what's he going to do? Go back to Marietta? They've already filled your vacancy, pal.
You're saving the best for last.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what it is. Well, unfortunately, one of the people that I was going to present something has already left us this evening, but it's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to present our service awards, and it's a pleasure for me, especially when I can present them to some of our council members. And so we do have 2 people that I was going to recognize tonight, one for 5 years of service, which of course is Miss Terry Anulowitz, and unfortunately she left, so I will be getting hers to her. But we have our senior member, and I'm not saying age, just years of service on the council, Wade Lineca, 25 years. So I wanted to present him with his certificate and his 25-year pin.
All right. I remember the day Wade was standing in the back of the old city hall, and I don't know what he was thinking.
And I also wanted to give a quick update. As part of the ongoing Tyler Munis implementation, Human Resources is still working out some of the kinks and trying to get our system completely up online. We're working toward the employee self-service portion, which we hope will be going live in March. That will be where our employees can actually log on and submit address changes, tax changes, direct deposit changes, trying to do as much as we can electronically, which is going to be a great asset to us. But on top of that, and our target date is hopefully in April, we're looking at hopefully having our new online application applicant tracking system up and running. We, again, are trying to go as much paperless as we can and bring ourselves up into the 21st century. Both Rachel and Angie Capato have been working endlessly trying to build the applications. We're going to have an application for police, an application for fire, one for general employment, and eventually we will try to be doing all of our applications online, whether they can log in from home and do it from there and attach all the necessary documents, or even come into our office where we're hoping to have a couple of kiosks set up, set them down at the table, show them how to log on and how to apply right online while you're there. So again, trying to be conservative, go more green, and better electronic storage for us of the applications, because when you get 300, 400, 450 applications for a single job posting, that can be a lot of trees that you're killing very quickly. So we're really excited about it, and as we get closer to the launch of that, we will give you more information. So great things ahead for the Human Resources Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, did you mention the great weigh-in today of the great loser or something?
Uh-oh.
Well, that is one thing. We are actually kicking off this year our Biggest Loser Challenge. We haven't done one in a couple of years as part of our wellness program. And Kelly, our new wellness coach, is gearing that up. We started weigh-ins last Friday, had some weigh-ins for people who want to participate today, and we have another session available for weigh-ins on Wednesday. If there are people that would like to do it and those aren't convenient days, I'm sure Kelly will work with you to have you and or your spouse. We are including spouses this year, trying to get more participation. But I think as of today, we had somewhere in the mid-20s signed up so far to participate. You won't know how much weight we lost in actual pounds or how much people weigh when they started. It will be on percentage of weight loss as well as our BMI, body mass index improvements. So the more people we have enroll in it, the bigger the better the prizes, and I think it's going to be some fun challenges going forward for us. And I'll take you on. I came in today, so the challenge is with you, Mayor.
Put my name on the trophy. I've been beefing up, baby.
Well, I'm hoping I can get some more of the department heads to take a challenge, because I think as of today, I was the only department head so far that I knew of. But we'll see if we can get a few more challenges going.
Yeah, there's a little short guy back there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
I'll just note we don't yet have a Krispy Kreme franchise in town.
I gained 5 pounds just on that zoning tonight. David Lee, our new police chief.
Chief.
Thank you. If I'd known in advance that my fire chief friend was going to have 14 slides, I'd have had 15. It's kind of interesting to do an end-of-year report, and I've been here 2 weeks. But I do want to start off. I was asked to read something, and I know I forwarded this to you. But, recently on February 16th at about almost 1:30 in the afternoon, Corporal Nesbitt arrived at the Greens Apartments in reference to a medical call involving a 5-year-old girl having trouble breathing and was unresponsive. When Corporal Nesbitt got there, the young lady's lips was blue. She wasn't breathing. He immediately did the Heimlich maneuver on her and then did a finger sweep and retrieved some mucus and about half of an undissolved pill. And her breathing resumed. They were able to get her sitting up and really saved the child's life. And, I've been in law enforcement a long time, I'll just say that. But these are the things that you kind of live for. These are the moments that you live for. And, and having only been here for 2 weeks, what a great thing to happen, to be able to showcase, to everybody what a great department that we do have here.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, now let me try and figure this out here.
Please don't. I hope Jason, he needs some help.
You got him in wingspan.
Okay, remember I do have a firearm, Jason. Of course, I know that you do too, but I promise I can shoot better.
Here we go.
Okay, the first thing I wanted to present was the crime stats. Overall, we're down 1%, but there was a significant increase in rapes. And I spoke with the detective division today to get a little bit more insight. And even though the percentage increases quite a bit, the actual number was increased from about 5 from last year. What I did find out that almost every one of these was what's commonly referred to as date rape, where they knew who the person was, and approximately 5 of the 12 had been where the complaint had been withdrawn by the ladies who had filed the complaints to begin with. The overall amount of crimes, like I said, went down approximately 1%. We did have one other increase that couldn't be explained, was vehicle theft, and I've checked around with different agencies throughout Cobb County, and they all pretty much saw the same significant amount of increase in auto thefts as well. I talked with Sergeant Red of my former agency, who's on the state board with it, and he said a lot of the influx right now is for them coming out into the suburbs from the city of Atlanta to steal cars to bring there. The chop shops operations have been on somewhat the boom, if you will, because of the economy. Another thing that we saw when we looked at police activities, our accident rates had gone up, as well as injury accidents, and that a lot of this we pretty much feel is because our traffic enforcement has not been as much great as it has been in the past. Of course, as many of you know, our motorcycles, almost every one of them are out on light duty or still recovering from a lot of the motor vehicle accidents that we've had. So that's an issue that we're looking at, and we've got some plans of how we're going to address that in the future. Well, I apologize. I'm missing one slide, and basically what we're going to in that slide, we're going to talk about some of the initiatives that we do have coming forth with the police department. Obviously, I'm going to be doing it off the cuff here, so if you're reading it, it won't necessarily be in line. Yeah. Thank you.
Way to go.
One of the first things that in fact, we've just got started. The initial phase of it is starting to work towards putting together a strategic plan for the department. I sent out an email earlier this week to all the members of the police department for any suggestions they might have that we use on a strategic plan to pass that forward through their chain of command. And eventually what we'll be doing, the senior command staff will go through and with all the different suggestions that we had and what we've come up with, we will select a number of those goals and then start putting our strategic plan together for the rest of the year. We're going to start working on the community policing model. If you're familiar with NYPD's CompStat program, it will be a derivative of that. The statistical analysis reporting is a large portion of it, but there's many other functions and facets that will be used in doing that. That will be one of our goals on our strategic plan, because what this does is help change the organizational culture to where we become a 100% community policing model. We're still working on the migration to the tablet devices. Apparently, from what I understand with this, and I apologize, I had about a 5-minute briefing on this today, is what this is going to do is help speed up a lot of the processes, help save us money from using the traditional tough books. Right now, I know they're working at some other initiatives that they'll be able to use with this, but overall, this will, using the tablet type, like the iPads and that, is the savings from that versus the tough book is quite dramatic. For example, some of these tablets are about $400 or $500, and tough books generally run about $3,000 to $4,000. The Neighborhood Watch program, I've talked with Officer Smith on that. He's been doing a great job with that. In fact, in Ms. Wilkinson's ward, we attended a meeting last Saturday, or Saturday before last, to develop a Neighborhood Watch program in her community. Obviously, these are good crime-fighting tools for us. It helps us. When people see stuff going on in their neighborhood, they know more about it than what we do. And it's a very integral part is getting the community involved with us. The Critical Incident Planning Crowd Control Patrol Rifle Program. I know this was on last year's list from what I understand, and some of it our department fell a little bit behind on, so we're going to be more formalized in doing that. We're already in the process of looking into the government access program to be able to get patrol rifles, for most all of our officers. In fact, we've sent a letter already to Don Sherrod asking for 75 rifles. The training programs, one of the things that I've done is what we're looking at doing is basically developing career paths for the officers. For example, if they decide that they want to be a detective, so what we'll do is that we'll start tailoring their training towards investigations instead of just sending them through. A lot of times you'll get some departments send officers just to the bare minimum amount of training and whatever, just so that they satisfy the post requirements. What we'll be doing with this is that if somebody, like I said, wants to be a detective, we'll start getting them into like blood pattern analysis, interrogation classes, things like that. And then along that with the other programs like the traffic enforcement unit, things like that. But basically it helps them do a career path, and then we help them along their way. Okay, one of the other things is to get our state certification. We are in the process of, I met with Mr. Taylor recently, we already have a group of new policies, and we're going to start working on getting that rolled out. Of course, we'll probably be changing quite a few of those pretty soon too, but we need a good base to start work with. Our deadline, what I found out, was like sometime this summer to be able to get this done, and we've asked the Georgia Chiefs Association to give us an extension on that, and we believe we're going to be getting that.
Excellent.
And one last thing is we're looking at the department as a whole, where we have people allocated for different programs, and so we're doing a lot of review right now, and to see what we need to do so that we become more efficient, more effective, and so that we can deliver better services to the citizens of Smyrna. That's all, sir.
Pretty good week, wasn't it?
2 weeks.
2
yes,
weeks.
sir. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah. And there was a couple of things that I went to talk to the chief about, and I don't think he heard a bell ringing since he got here. It's been busy, but I appreciate the information.
Yes, sir. And I hope I hadn't been inundating you all with too much information.
No. Informed people are happy people.
Okay, very good.
I will tell you, we do appreciate the real-time communication when something's happening in the city or accolades that need to be bestowed on the people who protect us, and thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Look forward to making sure you have a place to bed down at night in Smyrna pretty soon.
I'm working on it.
There you are.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much. One final thing, as I try to do on a regular basis, is to remind any citizen who comes in contact with one of our professionals who are charged with defending either our home or our property or our lives, please just say thank you. They've earned it. They defend us 24/7, 365, and we thank them for what they do. One last thing, Mr. Mayor. I did have a chance to talk to Kenny Birch today, one of Smyrna's fine citizens. Many of you know he's undergone some treatment relative to a challenge, a physical challenge that he's been faced with. And he's progressing nicely. He still has some physical therapy work to do, and in a couple of weeks he's going to go back to Houston to have another visit with those fine folks who are treating him. But he's in fine spirits. The business is progressing. His brother-in-law is doing a great job helping run the show while he's away. But he continues to amaze us with both his personality, his resilience, and his business. His business is prospering in this economy, so we're proud for that. Kenny Birch, our prayers and our hopes are with you to get well soon. And one last thing, I heard that Lilywood was dragging Pete all around town. She's up and around now, and there's a rumor that she's hunting up a barn dance for the weekend. I don't know, but nonetheless, our best wishes to both of them as well.
Mr. Eric Taylor, City Administrator.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I want to take this opportunity to announce, publicly announce that earlier today, the city of Smyrna announced the sole finalist for the vacant city clerk position, that being Terry Graham. She has applied for the position. She has most recently been the city clerk for the city of Hiram, where she served for 6 years. And she's actually here tonight. She's been here all night for the longest meeting we've had in a year or two, and she's not even getting paid yet. But she will be hopefully sworn in and voted in on the next council meeting in 2 weeks. And we do look forward to working with her and welcoming her to the city. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Jeffrey Tucker, our city attorney from Cochran Edwards, who was hoodwinked into coming tonight. And Jeffrey, anything you want to add?
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ladies, y'all have anything else y'all need to add? This was a long meeting, but it was good. If there's no other business to be brought before this body, Scott Stokes needs to see you in the parking lot. I declare this meeting adjourned at looks like 11:13. Chief Lee, too. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold it. I'm sorry. One person that signed up, Alec Backery. Is he here? He's gone? Okay. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Corky.